And ladies and gentlemen, we are live. I want to thank you all for coming out, and for those who've decided to show up early here, I really appreciate it. I'm just gonna set a little bit of music in the back here. There we go. So I want to thank everybody for coming out tonight. This one is going to be very different than the standard Rogue Council. Joining me tonight is going to be PD York. He's going to help me out here as we're doing our rune readings and tarot readings. We've got, like I said, this is going to be a little different than normal. The idea of this stream is that we are going to be raising money for some very worthy charities. The first one is Child's Play. The idea behind Child's Play is they put video game consoles into hospitals so that kids have something to do while they're waiting for procedures. The other one is the Rainbow Railroad. Now, what they do is the Rainbow Railroad smuggles people out of dangerous situations that they could potentially be in for queer people. So, for example, last year we got a lovely lesbian woman out of Russia where she would have potentially faced a death penalty case, but your donations last year helped us keep her safe. So I really appreciate that, guys. Your donations last year also helped us put 6 different consoles into hospitals around North America. I really appreciated all the work you guys did last year. Here's how tonight is going to work. When here we go. We've already got somebody trying to be funny in the chat here. Husky from Pluto. I saw Child's Play as a charity and knew it couldn't be the horror movie. Yeah, well, that's right. Now, the idea is anytime you guys super chat tonight, we will pop it up as a question that we are going to do a tarot reading for. And when you guys request a tarot reading for yourselves, we will, of course, switch to the tarot board presented by Cabal Vision HD. And we will do your reading tonight. So, ladies and gentlemen, we can begin whenever you guys are ready. As it stands right now, I think I'm going to start with something simple, just kind of a little hello reading. We'll ask we'll just do a 1-card reading so that you guys can see what this is all about. I'll put up the board here. Here we go. And we will ask how the cards feel tonight is going to go. So this is the Mage the Ascension Tarot here, and I'll flip that around so you guys can see it real nicely. That is the 9 of Wands. And it typically portends a triumph over evil, over darkness. And I guess that's what we're just going to have to do tonight. So otherwise...
on Halloween, no less. Okay.
Yeah, there we go. So... so that's what we're going to start with tonight. Now, last year I actually gave away a Rider-Waite tarot deck, so we may decide to do a giveaway again tonight. We'll see if, depending on how things go tonight. In the meantime, though, PD, how are you doing today?
Well, still getting settled in from the craziness of the last year or so, and it's good to be able to get back on Rogue Council from the comfort of my own computer once more. So absolutely happy to do this on the charity stream. And let's hopefully we get some good super chats and some good readings overall, and some just have a great time.
Here we go. Oh, and here we go. Husky from Pluto. I missed the information about the donations. If we're asking for a reading, we're making a donation, right? Yes. What I'm going to ask is if you wish to make a donation tonight, and if you'd like to donate for a reading, please send us a super chat with your question. Super chats, if you're looking at your YouTube screen, where the chat bar is, there's a little symbol near the bottom there that'll give you the option to super chat. Just select the super chat. Any donation is welcome, and then type out your question in the super chat window, send it over, and we will do a reading for you. You can also request if you would like to have a rune reading as well. Tonight we should probably wind up with a few special guests throughout the evening. There's been a few people that have been reached out to, and hopefully we'll get some surprise guests for you. But with any luck, tonight's going to be a busy night, and we'll get to have a fair bit of fun with it. So, yeah. So it looks like we've got a few of the usual suspects. We got YU Hayton and 13M32. You guys, it's always awesome to see you. Thank you so much for once again coming out for the charity stream. I really appreciate it. Seems we've got a few people out there in the on the YouTubes tonight, filtering in. So I'm really hoping that we'll fill the board tonight, and yeah, we can have a good time of it. So so it's good to hear you're in your house, like your new place, Petey. Here we go.
Yeah.
Let's take a look. Here we go.
It's in a book.
The Reading Tarot.
Reading Tarot. Yeah, exactly.
Yo, man, you can be my LeVar Burton any day.
I was going to say, please tell me one of our special guests tonight is LeVar Burton. Oh, man, that would be... Now, there's a celebrity goal. To either get on the Ryder Brothers or Corione's channel is stream with LeVar.
Well, fun fact, I didn't actually manage to get a hold of him, but William Shatner was reached out about this charity stream.
Don't tell Nemesis of Eden that.
Oh, he's not a fan of Williams?
He unfortunately met Shatner on one of his not so fan entertaining days, and I guess it's I'll have to ask about the story again later, but yeah, he's not a fan of William Shatner after meeting in person. It's like, oh, what's the age old adage? Never meet your heroes.
You see, I would agree with that, except for in the case of Leonard Nimoy. I actually got the opportunity to meet him at a convention. Now, while at the convention, my wife actually got a much more interesting meeting with him. She was carrying our daughter and trying to manage bags and whatnot, and she couldn't seem to hold it all together. And my daughter was crying, and she was trying to move the bags and whatnot. And a voice, she hears a voice behind her saying, "Hey, can I help you out? Can I hold her?" And my wife goes, "Sure," and hands it off. And she gets the bag sorted and looks up, and Leonard Nimoy is holding our kid.
And your wife handed your daughter off to Spock. Dude, why am I only just now finding out about this story? Like, holy crap. You're too humble for your own good sometimes, bro.
Well, and the funny part is, got her calmed down, and when I went up to meet him,
have that tendency with kids.
Oh yeah, Vulcans are very good with kids. When I got up to meet him, I was, I said thank you for helping my wife with my daughter, and he was all like, "Oh, of course, I love kids." And I said, "Yeah, you've got a son, been out of diapers for quite a while now." And he's like, "Yes. I'm getting close to that age where I should be a grandfather." And I said, I wanted to ask about your photography, because I'm sure everyone else has asked you to death about the various other artistic endeavors, but I don't think your photography gets the attention it deserves. It's really quite good. So we had a brief chat about some of his stuff, and he seemed to be on really friendly terms. And this was well before I was doing YouTube, and it's a shame, because I think I could have probably parlayed that to get him on the show. So
yeah, no, yeah. His loss was probably one of the ones that that one still stings, to be perfectly honest. I mean, because his voice is in Star Trek Online,
Yeah.
And it's really cool that the family has been cool about being able to keep it, or keep all of his work there. Oh no, wait, I have to go into the.
Yeah, well, I mean,
Oh
he's
crap!
got a
What do you
heck of a
want to describe?
legacy in that regard, right?
Oh yeah,
And just such a decent human being. And no, I really appreciate him for being him. And I feel like him and James Doohan and the others, they were just wonderful people, who genuinely loved the kindness that some of the fandom can bring, and appreciated that. I can get why some of the stars may feel a little put out by some of the fans, right? I mean, some people, you know, don't appreciate the actors; they appreciate the character, and I bet you that could feel a little, not as cool to some of these actors who want to be appreciated for being an actor. So
yeah.
I get where they're coming from. Like I get the challenge there, and how that could be, kind of a little crazy making.
I
But
think the opportunity that, because you make a very good point, but I think the opportunity that was probably missed, and I guess this will be a pseudo pop culture discussion, which is fine.
yeah,
It's all connected, right? The thing about it is, I think what we missed was another. I think if Shatner had had the opportunity to play Mirror Kirk in the later era, he might have felt a little bit better about it, because look what happened recently with Deadpool and Wolverine.
Yeah.
Hugh Jackman's now, like, he finally, after so many years of playing Wolverine, got to not play Wolverine as Wolverine. He got to play Wolverine as Hugh Jackman's version of Wolverine, like the one that he just was, to be himself on the screen and have fun. And it was all these things came together. And I'm now that you've said what you've said, I'm like, I wonder if that's part of it, because they got to have more fun. Whereas, Shatner only really got to kind of make fun of Star Trek outside of Star Trek.
Right.
He had to do it in Free Enterprise. He had to do it on SNL and whatever other shows were on at the time that were making fun of Trek. He never really got to actually, parody himself as Captain Kirk the way he wanted to. And so I think that's probably why you're totally correct, is that that's why people, you're right, they get invested in that. No, that's the character. No, it's not. William Shatner is a very different man from Captain Kirk, just like Guinan is a very different person from Whoopi Goldberg. Like,
Right.
now,
And I mean, like, I don't just appreciate William Shatner's Captain Kirk. I really love the amount of charity work he's been doing with horses.
yeah,
And, the fact that he's this avid rider, and, very much about keeping that tradition alive. It's very cool. And I think that's, something like, if I was going to bring him in here, I would be very polite and very honest and everything else about it. But I'd also be like, hey, let's take a few minutes to talk about the charities. Let's talk about what you're passionate about, right? Like,
yeah,
acting, is kind of the job, right? It's work. And that's always good. But I'd like to hear what these guys are, like, actually really into. Like, Garrett Wang, the guy who played Harry Kim.
yeah.
He actually lives near Vulcan, Alberta, which is, actually fairly close to where, the infamous YouTuber Canadian Spider-Man lives. And, Garrett is very much about being around the fans and whatnot, but he's also, like, dude actually runs his own little ranch, right?
Yeah.
Like, believe it or not, right? Like, Harry Kim's a cowboy, right?
That's pretty cool. Still
Right,
an
and
ensign, though. Ensign cowboy.
Well, there you go, right? You would think they would have made him a lieutenant by now, but yeah.
Exactly.
But yeah, that's kind of how it boils down. I think that's kind of the cool part about it. So, you know what?
Yeah. So
Let's
here's, yeah, I was gonna pull up some pictures to show, but we can do that later, or if you got
Okay.
something else planned. But what's funny to know is I'm going through my screenshots, and there's like, there's just buttloads from 2012 for STO, and then I get to 2013, and there's like a couple of rows, and then 14, and that's because I was playing SWOTOR. So I
Fair
can actually
enough.
see in my library where I stopped playing Star Trek for a good minute.
Well, speaking of Star Trek, let's see what the cards say about the future of the franchise, shall we?
That's a great idea.
Just recently found out one of my coworkers is a huge Star Trek. Here we go.
Your coworker is cool and enlightened.
Yeah, we had an argument over what genre my shirt was from.
Oh.
Okay, so this is what it is currently, which is the Four of Swords. Basically, it's more or less surrounded by swords pointing at it, which I think is about as accurate as you're going to get for how Star Trek is felt by the community right now, right?
Literally, the one other show besides like Strange New Worlds is still missing the mark, and I could talk about that at some other time. But the one show that was finally kind of starting to get it right canceled.
Yeah. All right. Now this is what we call what crosses it. This is its basically what its antithesis is. And as we can see, this card is a gentleman who is chained up, being held in place, right? And more or less surrounded by the wealth that's holding him down. So I would actually argue what's preventing Trek from moving forward is all the money in the fandom, right?
No way. Well, hey, at least we know the cards are tracking accurate so far.
Well, there we go, right? This is kind of our calibration test, right?
Duh. Wait. Duh. Oh, no. Or, yes. That's what we want. We want the cards to be right.
That's it. So, here we go. It's far past. Now, tell me that that isn't an Orion slave girl for the far past there.
Yeah.
So, what it actually is the Nine of Cups. And the Nine of Cups talks about, a wealth of plenty around something. So, in the past, it's been very, very popular. Right now, it's the Hanged Man, where it's kind of being held up by its own, by its own weight. And what's coming? So what the cards are saying is the future for Trek is the Five of Cups, which is kind of a multi-headed hydra, if you will. It's pulling in multiple directions. So it looks like what the future of Trek is.
More shows in different timelines.
Exactly. More shows in different timelines.
Star Trek.
That's what it looks like.
Great.
So,
which tracks true, because we have a Section 31 movie coming out for some reason. We have Starfleet Academy, aka Star Trek Discovery Season 6. We still have Strange New Worlds, which did get renewed for Season 4. Hopefully we can get, renewed for 20 episodes. Would like to go back to, that kind of storytelling.
Yeah. So, Husky from Pluto, who has been just a beast at an activity on the chat tonight. I don't actively follow the personal lives because sometimes I feel like the press and media get too intrusive. I can definitely agree with that. Yeah. What I tend to do is I tend to follow what they want to put out, not necessarily what gotcha media is doing. So, like, if they want to talk to an interviewer about a charity that they're passionate about, or a dream project that they're finally getting off the board, that's what I want to listen to. I want to listen to what they want to tell me about themselves, because I think that is the more interesting things. Like, for example, Scott Bakula spends most of his time working on his like avocado farm or whatever, right? Like he's just a nice simple farmer guy 99% of the time when he isn't acting, right? And I think that's cool, and I love that he talks about it, right? Husky from Pluto, fun. That was an interesting reading. Well, thank you, Husky, and that's kind of what I provide for anyone who's gonna super chat in on whatever question they'd like.
Look, I don't want to feed anyone any kind of false hope or nothing, but if we're getting more timelines, Star Trek Legacy.
That would be cool. Legacy would be cool. I would actually really like, I mean, the show that I really, really want them to do is actually like a Star Trek, like temporal investigations unit or something like that, where it's those two guys from that one Deep Space Nine episode going around talking to different captains about the screwed up stuff they've gotten into and debriefing them on all the bizarreness. Make it more of an ensemble show again. Make it so that we don't get too invested in one specific crew, at least for a while, so we can get a showcase of ideas. And if something really hits, then Paramount knows that's the crew we want to follow.
Yeah.
Right?
All right.
So, yeah.
If y'all haven't hit the share button, might want to.
Yeah,
and
guys,
we do appreciate likes and subscribes, and tell all your friends and family to get out here, because what else are you guys going to do on Halloween? No, trick-or-treating, right? Anyway.
Yeah, but, I mean, come on. Everyone's done trick-or-treating here. It's, it's gotten
up
dark
there,
enough.
Yeah. Down here, it was like, there were still a bunch of families and whatnot, like, out on the town and everywhere.
Listen, man, if I was in Key West, I'd be bringing my Corion Witch in Residence Stein out and bringing it around and going, trick-or-treat, and just seeing what I can get.
So, next year, you need to come down for Fantasy Fest.
Okay.
And since it's a year away now, I think we can make this happen. But I think we can make this happen. Let's try to make this happen. You and your wife will have a great time. Who knows? As far as, possibilities are. But the thing is, you say that. So there's this thing called the Locals Parade. Now, of course, non-locals march in it anyway because they like to do that. But it's better if you have locals that you're with. Locals like my wife and I. And basically, it starts from one end of the town and snakes down through the other. And the whole time, there's free booze, free shots, free just all kind. Before you even hit Duval Street, you will likely be stumbling if you're partaking on everyone's gifts of Jello shots and all kinds of.
Duval halfway through your hammer.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, did we do it that one? We did do it that one year.
No, we just sat outside of Wayne and Ruth's house handing out Jello shots.
I thought we actually marched in it though. Well, either way. No, it's one of my favorite events, and I didn't get to do it this year because I had to work and make some money and as life is. But next year, I'm probably gonna make sure I have all my bills so I can take the entire week of Fantasy Fest off and actually enjoy it for once. So, but for sure, doing the Locals Parade every year from here on out, because that's our thing. That's our parade.
Very cool.
But yeah. So yeah, that's where you could get your trick or treat alcohol version, because that's when they do it. Oh, we have Super in the house.
Oh, we do. Here we go. Why you hating? What are the tidings for the upcoming UAP hearings in Congress and the 2025 sightings? All right.
Well, good question, especially for the Rogue Council.
Well, why you hating? First, thank you very much for breaking the ice here. Your donation is going to help out some people in need, and let's see what we can learn for you. So, isn't
Why You Hating also a channel member?
He is a channel member. He is one of the OG channel members, and has been enjoying some of the unique benefits. For those who don't know, normal Rogue Council episodes only stay live for a very short amount of time, and then they go behind the membership wall. And unless you have a channel membership, you won't be able to view the back episodes. So it's a good reason to be a member. Now, why you hating is talking about for UAPs. For those that don't know, UAP is the new term for UFOs or flying saucers. And the last couple of years, Congress has been very active at trying to get to the bottom of it. So let's see what the cards say about the U.S. congressional hearings into UAPs. Here we go. So let's see. Just setting things up. All right. Welcome once again to the Tarot Board, presented by Cabal Vision HD. Well, that's an auspicious initial start. So the star typically represents an ascendancy, something coming to the forefront. So it sounds like it's going to get more attention. Now, the Three of Swords typically represents, like a suffering situation. So from the sounds of it, it looks like the opposition is primarily is that people are almost bored with the idea of it. They don't take it seriously.
That tracks true.
Now, the Two of Swords is interesting because this would be the recent past, and it is a woman who is blind holding a lantern out trying to walk in the darkness. So that I would almost assume is saying that we've been kind of led around by a light that we're not even allowed to see. Now, what's going on right now? Oh, this is another. What's going on right now is the four of Pentacles, which typically represents, a cosmic understanding or an awakening of knowledge. So it sounds like somebody's getting answers. Oh no, this is interesting. This is very interesting, guys. What is coming? Can you guys see that well? Judgment. Which usually means that something definitive is going to take place that is going to set the paradigm for the future. So why you hating? I would say that I would keep very close eye on what's going on in the UAP area, because it sounds like we're going to get some answers, or we're going to get some sort of decision this year.
Yeah, I just got settled into home. I just found my way back to the... Can we do Aliens in like 2027? I need a couple years to unwind from like the last 40.
Hey man, you were the one who wants to vote for the giant meteor for 2024.
Giant meteor, not work. I want my bills in society destroyed if that's the case. No, I'm just kidding.
Hey man, I voted for Kodos. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah, I voted for Kang. What is wrong? You know what? I'm out of here. Bye. I can't do this anymore. I can't remove myself. Dang it. It's not as fun. I'd have to exit and then come back, and that's a whole pain in the...
That's a whole thing. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
You lodged your official protest.
So thanks again, Why You Hating, long-standing channel member and
overall cool dude. Yeah. So Why You Hating? I hope that answered your question.
Yeah.
Let us know in the chat.
Definitely watch the unidentified aerial phenomenon. Oh, so they just took UFO and made it more ambiguous.
Yeah. Well, they don't want to say object because they're not entirely sure that they are objects, I guess, right?
They don't want to be held responsible. Got it. Yeah, no.
Yeah.
I'm familiar with how people wordplay themselves out. I grew up Christian. I know how it works. The personal responsibility crowd are very, very good at avoiding personal responsibility. That's what I learned. The first step to taking personal responsibility is find a religion to pass all the blame to. Or,
you know what I actually find funny about that? I was recently talking to to a priest in this neck of the woods. When I was talking about, hey, this is the live stream I'm doing, he's like, yeah, we don't approve of divination. And I went, really? And he goes, yes. And I go, well, isn't divination, like the root word for, like the root meaning of divination is interpreting the will of the gods or the will of God. Isn't that what you do for people? So you don't approve of your own work?
And let me guess, his response was to, I play the go to hell card.
Actually, he just turned around and walked away.
See, that's been my response when I started asking normal questions is people will just stop responding, or they'll just go, oh, you're going to hell. And I'm like, you don't know that. I didn't consent to Christianity laying claim to my eternal soul. So,
well, I mean, that guy learned
D&D yourself there.
That dude learned pretty quickly that telling me I'm going to hell is the equivalent of me telling him that he's going to Mordor. Like, it doesn't track, right?
It also just doesn't add up. Oh, okay, all right. For 1% of the population that is on the P. Diddy tapes and the Epstein, didn't kill himself island stuff, because P. Diddy didn't get censored yet, or is that a no word? I don't know. Either way,
I think you're okay.
The people who harm children for fun, to say the least, there's a special place in whatever you believe. If you believe in justice and you believe that there's a divine justice, we can say with a certainty that there will be judgment. Keep with the theme of the cards for now. For them. But that's for the elites. That's for the people that indeed, greater chance
actually did something terrible that deserve it.
Exactly. Yeah. That's not your neighbor that refuses to go to your church. That's not the atheist that just doesn't want to, hang out or talk to you because they don't fundamentally. Okay, those people are just living their lives scared as you are. Anyway, got a super chat to shut me up.
Yeah, we got a super chat here.
If you want Petey to stop talking, super chat.
Husky from Pluto for $10. Thank you very much, sir. I'd like a rune and tarot reading that helps me figure out what I should pay special attention to within the next few months. Okay, so we're going to pull out the runes here because I think the cards are sufficiently heated up, and I don't want to, as Yu-Gi-Oh would say, I don't want to tax the heart of the cards. But let's bring out the runes here. So, for those who don't know, my runes are kind of a special case. Okay? The runes I own are somewhat unique. I wound up doing a favor for a lovely gentleman in Europe who was descended from original followers of the Norse religion. And they had these carved special from a very special tree for me. So let's see what we can learn here. So, having pulled these out, all right. So, what I'm getting here, now the way I read runes is they kind of tell me a story, if you will. So, this year, I see it starting as a fairly prosperous year. But at some point in this year coming up, you're going to be taking a fair bit of a journey. That journey is not just going to be a physical one. There will be physical travel involved. But it's also going to be a bit of a spiritual journey for you. A little bit of an awakening. And you're going to hit a crossroads where you're going to have to make a decision about what you truly value in your life. And based on what the runes are saying, this is very much going to be a bit of your own hero's journey, because you are going to experience this journey through not just the physical but the spiritual, and it will change what you're looking at for the rest of your life, but in a positive way. So I would look forward to your days ahead, sir. This year is going to be an exciting one for you. So good luck. This sounds like it's going to be a good one. You know, I'm not quite saying you're going to be taking the ring to Mordor, but I think you're going to be.
Well, look,
you're
as
going
someone
to
who
experience
did
some cool
just
stuff.
who did just take the ring to Mordor, and came out and,
Yeah. By the way,
it's
thanks.
true. You got to go through hell to get to heaven. So good luck to you.
Yeah. By the way, thanks for getting rid of that piece of jewelry for me. It was kind of a pain, and I'm sorry the Eagles were busy. I could only send them for the last leg of it.
8 days. 8 days in a Chevy Bolt by myself with 2 cats, Corion, and you couldn't send the Eagles.
Here we go.
Hey, I made the Vegas to Key West run on under $300.
That's a good deal, man.
So, yeah, anybody else who can do it faster with less money, let me know.
Well, I mean, I've done Florida in 22 hours in a car.
Oh, if we're talking just speed, I did Jersey to Boise in 36 hours. 8 of those hours, my little brother was kind enough to step up for.
That's cool.
But that was, man, I don't even want to remember the gas I spent. But, most of the time I was jumping, it was free chargers. It was Tesla destinations. It was
nice.
I am a proud e-vegan, as you know. And I got to say, no one's coming for your gassers. But, man, am I going to emphasize some common sense fuel budget control.
So we got Orville Nation in the house. Hey, Orville, it's wonderful to see you.
Orville Nation with every possible hey there emote he could muster. Good to see you, man.
And Orville, I guess you must be really happy and excited for 2025. I don't know, PD.
What about a complimentary reading on what the Orville season 4 is going to be like?
Yeah, let's do that. I think we can definitely do that. So let's see what's in store for Orville in 2025. Because they got a season 4, which is awesome. I suspect that most of that is because of the backroom dealing and shenanigans of Orville Nation himself. He is the super fan after all. Moreville, nice. I like that hashtag. Here we go.
So while you're prepping, let me tell you a little story. It's called Strange New Worlds versus the Orville, Part 2. Now, as you guys know, I did a video comparison of Strange New Worlds Season 1 to the Orville Season 3, which the Orville Season 3 is without a doubt some of the best science fiction in the modern era. Well, I recently showed the Strange New Worlds to someone very special to Hannah and I, and she just she hadn't even seen any new Trek whatsoever. This was the first new Trek because I wanted to see. And there was just nothing but complaints the whole time about how it's not Star Trek. It just doesn't feel right, all this stuff. I was like, oh, let's try something else then. I put on the Orville, and yeah, it was like every night was like 3 episodes. And so it was...
The Orville is probably the best Star Trek that Star Trek has provided.
She's proof positive of that because she's a huge TOS nerd. Like, she knows her TOS up, down, left, and right. And I'm a bit of a TOS novice still, but she was like, she was like, yeah, no, the Orville this is like the Star Trek I remember. This is like TNG. And I'm like, yeah, no, there it is. So let's see what season 4 has for us.
Oh. the Knight, the Knight of Dynamism or the Knight of Swords is basically the personification of intense, powerful, raw change. So I think we're going to be looking at, it seems like with every new version, like every new season of the Orville, we get some massive changes in the lore and the world and the feel of it. And it looks like we're in for more of that change.
I hope the initial assumption that Ed Mercer was going to die isn't the case.
Now, what's blocking it? What's blocking that change is the will to progress forward. So I think somebody there wants to keep it at the same level of intensity that it has been going for so far, instead of letting it get off the rails. Ooh, okay. Orville, this is probably the craziest read I've gotten so far in a while.
If that's the case, I want to say real quick, I guess we'll say a potential spoiler. Just there. This reading could turn out to be spoilers, I guess is the best way to put it. Yeah. So just
well, what it previously has been is more or less the little engine that could, right? It's been the little show that has grown and evolved and become something incredible. Now, for the record, this is the most, face cards without a number that we've gotten so far. So that's pretty damn impressive. Here we go. Finally, something a little more normal. So the first one was the Ace of Questing, or the beginning of the quest. Where it is currently is in the middle of its quest. And where are we going in season 4? Oh. Okay. Petey, you remember how you were saying that like the presumption is they're going to kill Mercer?
Yo, I think the Planetary Union's going to be destroyed.
Well, the tower is the card that kind of represents disaster and bedlam. So
I think the Kalon Alliance is probably going to fracture at some point.
Well, all I can say is this, if someone were to ask me how this season of the Orville would end, the response I would have to give is in fire.
So we're going to go for a best of both worlds cliffhanger for season 4. And you said it's midway through. So we have a minimum of 8 seasons for this show then, if that's the case. If we're in the middle of the journey.
That may be the plan, at least.
Yeah. Oh, man. A season 4 cliffhanger because, well, season 3 wrapped it up so nicely. Mm-hmm. Now we're getting into season 4.
Yeah, so that's an interesting piece here. I mean, if I had to guess, I would say that this one's going to be a pretty wild ride. Orville Nation's got to run. All right, well, Orville, it was wonderful seeing you, and feel free to share this out, and if anyone wants to join in there, more than welcome. All right, so there we go, guys. So that's pretty wild, man. We got a very interesting read for the Orville. It sounds like we're going to get some fun from there. Now, I am going to hold off on reading for Star Wars because there may be a guest that is showing up tonight that is probably going to want to be here for that.
See, this is why that we're not, for one, we don't have the 800 number for you to throw your money at. We use YouTube Super Chat like real professional grifters. And for two, we're not grifting, okay, someone asked for their future, we gave it to them. And then we just went and did a reading on a freaking television show.
Yeah.
If this doesn't tell you how much more authentic or legit, like Corione is, and there's no, Petey, You want me to use the powers that be to read a television show? What are you, a child? Well, yes, but that's not the point. The point is, it's a tool. It's a tool.
And here's what I'm gonna say, and I'm gonna let you guys in on a couple little secrets. I'm doing this for a charity. I am not taking any of this money. It is going to the right people. Okay? People that could actually use the money. You can always tell a person who is doing it for the right reasons because they're not doing it to get money. They're doing it to actually help somebody or to provide insight or those sort of things. And will never ask for money or fame or glory or anything like that. They're there to provide a service to their community. And the only reason why I do it for a charity is because a lot of people feel like this is a skill that is a fun. I always say it should be taken as entertainment. Okay. Piece. I'm never going to be like, oh yes, there is this treasure in your future, and if you provide me another $49.99, I'll tell you exactly where it is. No, I'm not that guy.
Give me the Powerball numbers for $49.99. That is a pretty good deal right there. But
no. But what I will say is, guys, people who are willing to put in the effort and whatnot simply because it's the right thing to do and are using their talents or their gifts for the right reason, then those are the people that absolutely belong on doing this kind of work. And you can always tell the fakes because the fakes are going to charge you through the nose to hear your future, and they are not doing it for your best interest. They're doing it pretty much for the opposite. So here we go. And there we are. So yeah, guys, that is what we're doing. And again, I'm raising money to help out people, right? To help out kids, to help out people who are absolutely stuck. And honestly, I really do recommend you guys, in the description, there is a link to the Rainbow Railroad. Guys, read some of those testimonials. They're incredible to read on there. You know what? I think what we could do, if you guys would like, is just for a little bit of a break until somebody else decides they would like to know something. Why don't I bring up the Rainbow Railroad's website here and give you guys a little bit of the news that has come up from there, because it is a pretty wild charity, and I don't think it gets enough attention. So let me bring up the site here for you. Here we go. So to date, they've helped 10,316 people that have requested help to get out of their nation because they're being persecuted for who they love, right? So here we go. Here we go. So we're doing that right now. And let's see if I can find some of the testimonials, because they were very cool. There was one I was reading a little while ago. Here we go. So they're talking about the Taylor Swift fundraising they're doing in Toronto. Here we go. Oh, we got a super chat here from Porum Miriam, if I'm saying that right. $20. Thank you so much. Hoping you all the best tonight. Sorry I couldn't join, Kit. Kit, thank you. That is awesome of you. What you're doing there is going to help out a lot, and we really appreciate it. So that is very, very cool. Yeah, so here, I think it's in the profiles that we actually see.
So since they don't want anything from it, they're just wishing us a good night, which we do appreciate.
Yeah.
Maybe we should start like a counter. That means we have one reading on deck, one reading available for grabs if someone wants to claim it.
That's it, right? If somebody out there wants a question answered, drop it in the chat right now. I will answer it for free here. Here we go. Yeah. This is a good one. This is this gentleman here. He was a queer activist in Uganda, and they smuggled him out, and he's still working from Canada to help out in his home country. So that's pretty cool, guys, right? Like, these are the people that we're going to be helping to save. So, you know, your super chats are potentially going to be saving a life. So thank you, guys. And yeah, if anyone wants to claim anything here, any question you guys have, I will do a reading for it. So, all right. So while we're waiting for people to send in those chats, yeah, man. No, like I said, it's a really good cause, and my understanding is Child's Play right now is working on getting a whole bunch of games in for some of the consoles they already have. So I think that would be very cool too, is that their focus right now is on games for the consoles.
Yeah, because games are expensive still for whatever reason. I mean, I know the reasons, but like somebody pointed it out. It's like, okay, when I was paying $70 for a physical copy, that's one thing, but I should be like paying at least like $5 or $6 less for digital download. And the fact that they still charge the same amount is it was like, what's my money going to though? At the same time, because we see all these big companies with ooh, there's a good one to consider. What is the future of should we do one of the gaming studios, or should we just do AAA gaming in general? I don't know how to go about it. I don't know what our limitations are. So.
Pick a studio and we'll start there.
You know what? Ubisoft's been pissing the most fans off lately. Let's see what happens with them.
All right. Let's take a look into the fate of the Ubisoft. Here we go.
No, Ubisoft.
Or Ubisoft. Here we go.
No, Ubisoft.
Okay. Funny. Oh! I figured out who that chat is from. So that young lady there, Kit, is actually the intern in residence. That is one of the students that I am teaching craft to. So, way to go, kiddo.
Very cool.
Yeah. So, you know, I say intern in residence because I feel like residential intern has a whole bunch of other connotations.
Yeah.
All right. Here we go. All right. So the 7 of Wands. They've had to be on the defensive and the back foot a fair bit recently. But they still want to move forward with what they're going with. So I would say the internal impetus is to double down on their nonsense.
That sounds correct.
What's blocking them is, in essence, the collective will of the gamers, if you will, is how I would interpret this. Right?
Don't let up, boys and girls.
Now, in the past, they've been fairly successful. They've achieved victories. Here we go.
Yeah, it's when they were actually making competent games.
But right now, it seems that they're getting a little bit of that lunacy going on. That they're going through they're drowning in the madness of the moon, if you will. The thing about that is, hey, Poyos Zapatos, if you want to join in, the link's in the usual place. Feel free to pop in. Oh, now this is interesting. It looks like their future, they're going to fix a fair bit of that. The Hierophant is basically the king. So it looks like they're going to come out on top of this by the end of it. And take their place as the top of the food chain. So I suspect this year they're going to make some changes to better fit with the industry and what the industry wants.
I welcome this happy ending resolution, and I hope it happens for the sake of all the hard workers at Ubisoft.
I do too. Now, that being said, Ubisoft does have an office in Toronto, and I just want them to know I am available to be hired. Just saying. If you want your games to have that...
better free advertising you're gonna get than a reading about the future of your company, and it's like, you've done all these bad things, you're bad, you're failing, you're an idiot, but it looks like you're gonna figure it out and everything's gonna be great.
Well, I'm just saying, if you want your games involving magic to have an authentic touch, I'm available as a consultant. Just saying. So yeah, that's what it looks like for Ubisoft.
Hey,
Any
I wish them
other?
luck, and I hope it works out.
Yeah, any of the other companies you want to check out?
You know what? Yeah, you know what?
We'll tickle the Star Wars balls a little bit, but I particularly want to know what the hell's going to happen with. Well, shit, I don't know. It's either going to be EA or BioWare, because I want to do it for SWTOR, but BioWare was the primary. I thought, no wait, I don't think BioWare's not charging. Let's see what the future of EA is.
Ooh. Just saying that name brings chills down my spine. As if 1,000 gamers cried out and were suddenly silenced by microtransactions.
And we're suddenly annoyed by terrible business practices. The sports games are still pretty good, though.
Yeah, they're not bad. All right. Let's see what we get with EA. Oh. So, the Page of Wands, or if you will, the Jack of Wands, is, a doomed figure. They're on life support as it is. But it looks like what's blocking them from truly collapsing is a very dark relationship they have with another studio. Interesting. In the past, they've been a little addicted to the needle, if you will, of quick and easy money, is what I would guess.
Microtransactions.
And now they're dealing with the repercussions of their previous actions. Now this is an interesting one. All right. So the 10 of the 10 of swords here, it usually denotes that it won't be them that sees the repercussions of it, but their offspring. So if I had to guess, I would say that they're going to wind up losing a couple of the studios under them this year in an attempt to pay off their own debt. There we go. Cosmic Vader can't stay. Just drop by to drop a sound salutation. Maybe a bountiful harvest. Cosmic Vader, that is super kind of you. I appreciate you popping in. It's always welcome to see you in the chat, man. So, there we go. All right. So, yeah, so that was interesting. That was very interesting.
Maybe AAA gaming has a shot after all.
Well, we'll see. There's one more I kind of want to find out about, though.
Oh?
Yeah, man. I got to find out about Steam.
I guess.
I mean, like Valve in general.
Valve.
Right?
Okay, yeah, Valve makes more
Yeah.
sense.
Like, although I'm going to say this, we'll know if it's an accurate reading if I don't pull up a single 3 of anything.
It's true.
All right. Here we go. So the King of Primordialism is basically the OG master, right? So, you know, the king of you know, if you will, they're kind of the OG king of gaming, whether people realize it or not. What's stopping them, though, seems to be the judgment, or what's holding them in check is the judgment of others. Perhaps they're worried about living up to the expectations upon them. Here we go. Now, in the past, again, they've been the queen of the primordial, like the absolute mother of gaming, if you will. There we go. Where they are right now, they're at the 5 of swords, which that tells me that they're kind of they're on the warpath a little bit right now. They're dealing with something that they're not telling us about. And their future? Well, guys, I think they're about to feel the love again from gaming. So I suspect this is gonna be a good year for them. Now we got a request in the chat about what about Blizzard and BattleNet? This one's you know, we are living in the Blizzard is not the same creature it used to be. It's really the hollowed out husk of Blizzard that Activision has been, like Bobby Kotick and Activision has been wearing. So let's see what it says about the current state of Blizzard. Though, you know, if you really want a good analysis of that, I actually recommend looking up Thor. He's the creator of Starbound. He's a previous Blizzard employee, and I do recommend checking him out because he has a pretty in-depth analysis in terms of where they went wrong and how they got to this point in the first place. All right, let's see. So we've seen this before. They currently see themselves as fighting for their future and kind of going on the warpath. Here we are. All right. Well, I'm getting a lot of confusion here in the cards. All right. What's holding them back right now is their leadership. That's interesting. So in the past, they were a much beloved company. Currently, they are reaping the rewards of their systems. Ooh. The future is the Hermit. I suspect what that means is they're going to be sitting on their laurels for the most part of this year. They're going to be sitting back and quietly trying to rebuild. If they were a sports team, I would say that Blizzard is in a team building year this year. So I suspect we're not going to see much from them until later on. So thank you for that one. That was an interesting one. All right. 13EM32. How about CD Projekt Red? All right. Let's see what we can get done here. I got to give these a good shuffle, though, because I've been getting a lot of weird coincidences, and I want to see where where things go for the next little bit here. Here we are. All right. CD Projekt Red. Here we go. So the king of dynamism is kind of the master of their own world, which I think tracks really nicely for CD Projekt Red, because they're only kind of in competition with themselves, really. Here we go. So the Four of Cups is an interesting piece to come up here. In the past, they've tried to go back to original stories, and I think that's what it's trying to tell us there. Currently, they're sitting actually in a fairly good place. They're poised to begin something new. But I don't think it's going to work out the way they think it's going to work out. Because I think disaster is on their doorstep. Here we go. Here we go. All right. So that is a very interesting one there. It's very surprising too. Here we go. So I don't know, Petey, what do you think about that one?
I just barely figured out what Project Red was, so.
Oh, CD Projekt Red, they're the Witcher guys.
Yeah, that's what I see. Yeah, I was just reading like their whole thing is to create revolutionary role-playing games. So it's like, do they want to support more indie creators? Is that the goal here?
Well, I mean, they've produced some beautiful and terrible pieces all at the same time, right? They produced The Witcher 3, which can be argued is probably one of the greatest games of all time.
Oh, they also did Cyberpunk. Okay.
Yeah, they did Cyberpunk, which did not have a good release and took them a while to get it functional.
Same with No Man's Sky.
Right. You know. So.
Yeah, well, yeah, they're going to be opening a new studio in Boston soon, so, you know.
Yeah.
Shipping out to Boston. Whoa.
Yeah, and
shipping
13...
out to Boston to open a gaming studio.
Yeah, well, I mean, you know. I suppose if he, you know, to be fair, H.P. Lovecraft was from that kind of area. So I guess if you were going to do Eldritch Horror, I mean, that would be a good spot to do it.
13M32 says DEI-related disaster. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you know, who knows what that's going to look like, right? Like when I pull out a card and it says, you know, hey, they're heading to disaster, the future looks disastrous. To me, I see two ways that could be interpreted, right? The game will suck, or the other possibility is they're going to do a post-apocalyptic game.
Oh, that's an optimistic appraisal of the situation.
Right? I mean, it's hard to say, right?
Don't do that. Don't give 13M32 hope.
Hey, man. First, 13M32 knows that, the only thing that you can guarantee hope is potentially going to lead to, or hope is the first step on the road to disappointment, right? But it's also...
we'll be getting into it when we get back to DS9, but I always loved Garrick's quote during the Dominion War. It's like, on the contrary, Doctor, I always hope for the best. Experience, however, has taught me to expect the worst. And I'm like, yeah.
But also, you know, speaking about Deep Space Nine, if you remember, there was an episode where they dealt with prophecy a great deal. And it turns out, they were very, very worried about bringing these 3 Cardassian women that were scientists in to help them. But by the end of it, they found out that the prophecy didn't actually relate necessarily to the Cardassian women. It related to shards of an asteroid that was going to disrupt the wormhole.
Going through the wormhole. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, really, it's hard to say, right? Prophecy is one of those things where we can guess at its meanings, but it only truly becomes apparent after the fact. That being said, paying attention to it and realizing, hey, I should be careful here is not a terrible strategy to be aware of, right? So, it's a little piece, but I think it's an important one to keep in mind. I've had some interesting readings over the years, and let me tell you, some things don't always come true the way you expect them to. But boy, when they hit, do you realize it, right?
Yeah.
So, I remember doing a reading for myself, very shortly before I, while I was living with my best friend at the time. He was my roommate. And I remember getting a reading saying that our association, like the house was going to be broken up, right? And that the future of its breakup was coming. Little did I know the reason why it was coming was because I had just met the love of my life. And we were going to get married and want our own place. So, it's an interesting piece there, right?
Well, then I hope it's the best. We had some pretty good potential readings for the other AAA studios, so a lot of it was there's just been horribleness and terribleness. Everything should be fine this year, though.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm personally hoping for some good AAA titles. I mean, we have had some actually good titles in 2024, right? Rogue Trader was fantastic. Space Marine 2 was great. Right?
Oh yeah, Starship Troopers, Helldivers was was a popular one. I haven't played it yet.
It's worth it, man. It's definitely if you like the kind of like sci-fi combat zone kind of games, it's worth checking out. And nothing says love like 4 guys all calling in orbital bombardment on a location at once.
That sounds pretty epic.
Yeah, there was a couple of times where I've been in a group where 3 members called down an orbital strike, and one of the other guys called in an airstrike with napalm. So basically, the place got blasted by energy beams from space, and then they poured napalm on it to make sure everything was dead.
Make sure nothing escaped through the holes.
That's it. And you definitely get into the fun situations of the only good bug is a dead bug kind of moments, and
Yeah, no, Super Earth sounds like a wonderful conformist paradise that I could get into virtually.
Oh yeah. Well, that's it, right? I mean, the fun of games like the 40K universe and Helldivers universe and whatnot is that they're fun so long as you cannot live in them your entire life. Right? If you were stuck living in them, they would suck.
Well, yeah, just like Grand Theft Auto.
Right? It's one of those there's a joke about if you ask different fandoms, would you want to live in your in the universe that your favorite fandom is set? And like, you'll get the Marvel guys that are like, heck yeah, and the Hogwarts guys that are like, woo, I get to go to Hogwarts, right? And you'll get the Star Wars and Star Trek guys that'll be all over it. But then you hit Game of Thrones fans and they're like, nah, I'm good. I don't need to be there. Right?
Yeah. That's like the equivalent to the guy who slams his brakes, you know, when he's speeding and then all of a sudden sees a cop, and it's like, yeah, so one, you're a coward. Two, you have no conviction whatsoever because, you know, at the first sign of possibly getting caught of what you are willingly doing wrong, you don't suddenly want to suffer the consequences. So yeah, no, that's my new thing. I am so sick of these stupid ass Miami drivers down here. Man, is there just some smooth brain bullshit that goes on in these roads that I'm like,
I don't know, man. I feel like they might be trying to keep to the 11th commandment. You know, thou shalt not get caught.
yeah. Now, if you're on the turnpike and you're wanting to do 80 gajillion miles, you know, that's fine. But here in Key West, our highest speed limit is 35. And while I do drive a car that most efficiently drives at 55, I'm sorry, that's freedom speed. Miles
Yeah, I was
per
going to say
hour.
35. Man, that's oh.
No, I think it's like 50 kmh or whatever.
Yeah,
Look,
50 's
I'm
all
okay with 5 miles above the speed. Like I sometimes will go that fast. I know speed.
Yeah.
Thou
And thou
shalt not
shalt
use
not
thy blink.
use thy
Yes,
blinker to merge.
that's proper Miami driving right there. You are the center of the universe, and everyone on the
Well,
road. is
you
here
just
for
don't want to
you.
give away that you're going to be coming over, right? You got to surprise attack them, right?
Right.
Miami
Surprise,
drivers are
crash.
ambush predators, right?
Yeah. Now, I'm so glad I have a tiny car that's also quick on its feet.
You know, it could be worse, man. I've driven in Quebec, and in Quebec, they have a rule that you're not actually allowed to turn right on a red light. But the unofficial part of the rule is you can just go straight through the red light.
So Quebec follows cyclist rules?
Basically, yeah. All drivers follow the cyclist rules.
We are the cyclists. We are better than you.
Yeah. If you ask a Quebec driver, they're you know, stoplights are suggestions. Right?
Yeah, that's honestly how some Miami drivers treat the stop signs and treat the freaking. But I'm really glad that the Florida Department of Transportation had the foresight to let these idiots out themselves because they came up with this stupid Miami heat plate that is exclusive to the Miami DMV, at least as far as I've researched. And so it's like, thank you. Let the idiots identify themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Just out yourself with your license plate.
Well, in Ontario, the original license plate was yours to discover, which is kind of a cool one, right? They've released 2 new slogans on the license plates, though. And I have serious concerns about who's writing these. Okay? Because the first one is open for business. And I'm like, ladies, I don't know if you want to be advertising that. And the other one is yours to grow. And I'm like, gentlemen, I don't know if you want to be advertising that.
Or maybe they do. No, my personal favorite are the local Ford commercials whenever a Raiders game was on.
Okay.
Because they would say, yeah, because you know, the Ford F-150 is built Ford tough, like Raider Nation.
The Raiders are like one of the worst teams in football.
They were one of the best cheaters for a while, though.
That's what I've heard. So maybe it's, you know, it's that give and take. What goes around will eventually come around generation or 12.
Yeah, or I guess since you're living in Key West, what goes around reaches around, I guess, now?
That's one of the slogan on depending on if you're down on the 800 block of Duval. That's about where you're gonna find that.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of spiritual mysticism and energies here too that would be more than worth your while to visit down here. Not necessarily like I'll have to talk Jay into doing his ghost tour. Like he doesn't do them anymore. He's just a karaoke DJ now. Well, I mean, he's really good at that. But look, I liked him better as a ghost tour guide. Okay, no,
all right.
No, I still love him all the same, but his ghost tour, I would go on like just for fun, whether it was by myself or hanging out with a friend. And there's so much cool history.
Well, we got a super chat here. Will 2025 be a good year, average, or 2019 level of chaos?
2019
Ooh.
chaos. 2019 was the
Ooh.
most sane year. 2020 was when shit went to shit.
Well, I mean, there's
maybe
a
Why
lot
You
of
Hating
madness.
started in 2019. I get it. 2013 is still the worst year of my life, personally. So,
2013 was actually a pretty good year for me. 2012 basically started off with the birth of my daughter, so 2013 was when she started kind of becoming cool.
yeah.
So I'm going to do a rune reading while you're hating, if that's okay. Here we go. All right. Okay. Here, I'll adjust things a little bit so you guys can see it better. Here we go. Okay. So now for 2025, I'm going to start it at, because Halloween is the pagan New Year. So I'm starting basically right away here because it looks like fortune, like the fortunes of many, are hitting a crossroads. It's going to start a journey that is going to culminate in it's going to culminate in what I would suspect is very early in the new year, like the Julian New Year. Of almost a schism that will lead to one side claiming a significant victory over the other and effectively locking in a definitive path for the next good long while. Like, we're not talking one election cycle, we're talking multiple. Based on what I'm seeing here is we're seeing the launch of a new dynasty. So it's going to be an interesting time, but I don't see it being a time of conflict. More of a year where we define ourselves as a people. So this could be a pretty interesting one if that's the case. I suspect this is based on that rune reading. This next year might be one of those kind of years that winds up being a significant chapter in a history book. PD, do you got anything to add there?
Just yeah, it was the Husky here said I almost died in 2013. Yeah. No, I mean, I certainly didn't die, but a lot of people around me did.
Yeah, it was a 2019 or 2013. It was a very different year for me. It was 2014, 2015 where things went off the rails.
Yeah, 13, I guess to get a little personal and heavy. 13 started with my first service member suicide. It's a guy I served with on the ship, someone who'd actually taught me stuff and drank and partied with. So that was fun. Then I lost. So when I did Coast Guard here in the Keys for twice, I was basically a 911 dispatch operator for the Florida Keys. And then the first time I was here, would have happened to have been during 2013. We had people die it was sad,
Yeah.
but like, you know, we made sure that we did our best. And when you know that you tried your best, it's just sometimes the one thing you can't always get right. Sometimes it's just time. You know, our technology only allows us to go so fast through the water. And sometimes, you know, people, they go down diving by themselves and they just don't come back up. There's situations that are out of our control.
And on the open water, I mean, a situation can devolve incredibly rapidly.
Right. And as long as we can, you know, check those boxes, dot those I's, cross those T's, just to make sure, like, could we have done more? Never bothered me. Except one time when it did, when higher ups decided to make decisions based on politics and careers of personal choice, and all of a sudden, you know, I'm, you know, listening to a crew freaking out because their shipmate's dying, and it's like that's the one that sticks with me the most. And then, you know, to finish off the year, you know, Mom passed away, which was actually 11 years ago yesterday. So yeah, that was my fun 2013. 2016 was a roller coaster that tried to mirror it, but you know, and then 2018, 2020 had some pretty rough spots, but I think for everyone, and then 2024 is just God. Jeez.
I mean, 2024, man. I mean, I feel like you know, at some point Picard is going to call for a damage report, you know?
Dude, it's like, can eggs just get more expensive? Let's just do that. Let's just make food way more expensive.
What does it mean by dynasty? Here's what I'm kind of seeing. Even though, yes, the world is not controlled by one government, certain events can happen that lead to the world kind of following a set period of events, a set sort of situation. Like, for example, right? Let's say the US were to go to war with somebody because of terrible circumstances, and the rest of the world follows along. That, in my opinion, would be this sort of scenario, right? Or something happens in the culture that is so critical, right, that the rest of the world is going to follow along with that cultural change and be impacted by it.
I'll go ahead and redon the Rogue Council hat here. Why You Hatin' says the world isn't controlled by one government. I'm gonna have to hard disagree with your assessment there. We are dominated by a single governing body, and that governing body is currency, more specifically the United States dollar, which is regulated by a private bank. And so, you know, feel free to disagree. I mean, technically speaking, sure, we do have different branches, and you know, people can still technically barter for stuff freely. Things are not as terrible on the free range debt taxation plantation that is planet Earth. But when you trace all the money and everything and how the world's economy works, tomorrow, if you were banned from trading in United States dollars, would you be able to survive? Now, maybe you do. Some people can. Some people have their survivalist, you know, crazy nut job conspiracy theorist buddies that have, you know, 20 years of food stored. It's smart to be prepared, especially where I live. We're prone to hurricanes down here, so it just makes sense to be, you know, the survivalist mentality has some wisdom to it. Just don't plan your life around a disaster. It's kind of sad.
Yeah, it's kind of a sad way to live. Now, that being said,
you still got to exist.
That being said, when you put on a Rogue Council hat, you should be putting on the official Rogue Council hat.
Yeah. Yeah, I need to redon the tinfoil, or just get a full-on new tinfoil hat version. But yes, that's our correct head.
That is the correct headgear.
But
Aleister Crowley's incredibly stupid hat.
But what funds wars? What keeps keeps us all under the same, you know, slave chains as everybody else? It's right there, Husky. Perfect. And yes, thank you for your kind words. But also, money is like the modern day slavery. It is a modern day slave chain, and because yeah, could you survive without the US dollar? Sadly, no, because it is the world's reserve currency. Its value is based entirely on thin air. It's not even based on anything hard or solid, which is why I keep advocating for a time-based currency, because time is the one facet of this existence that we can measure, with enough certainty that we can go, okay, currency, for example, needs to be based on time. If I do an 8-hour job and Corion does an 8-hour job, we should be paid the same for our time. Now, where it differs is if Corion's doing work from home and I'm out swinging a hammer, I should be compensated a little bit more for my physical,
See, I was going to argue
selling my body.
I was going to argue that while you selling your body, definitely, that's valuable. There are skills that I have that others don't. So if I'm using those skills, my time is more valuable in those skills.
Where the market needs to, right. And that's an educational discrimination or bonus. That is a valid reason why you would be paid more currency for that. There's different areas where we can make the argument. And then there's aspects of our society that exist that do work. That's why I'm against people that say, oh, we got a completely clean slate, start over. No. The Bill of Rights is pretty freaking great. And let's be honest, trading in a singular currency around the world, especially these days, would work provided that currency's value is fixed to one thing and cannot be changed at the whim of any private banks or lobbyists or any governing bodies. If we fix the currency, like quite literally fix it to a solid metric, that in of itself will start to cause a ripple effect on all the world's governments. And then, yes, we will start becoming a much more free society than we are now.
Yeah,
So,
I think that would be good, right?
Yeah. 13 says, what do you say of bricks? Bricks are a valuable currency. Bricks are necessary for building buildings.
There you go.
Anyway. Bricks also make for cool houses. Bricks also make for solid hurricane-proof houses.
Yeah, look. Here we go. I thought money used to be based on how much that country had in valuables. For example, in the UK, it was based on silver. Yeah. It used to be the US and Canada used to be on what's called the gold standard. But they haven't been able to do that, right? So
the Russian initiative of bricks, is it more blockchain stuff or this? I haven't heard anything of this.
Yeah. Okay, so very shortly we are actually going to have a pretty awesome guest, and we're going to be able to talk about Star Wars a little bit.
Yay!
So, for those that don't know, you guys are going to be in for a treat tonight because we're going to have somebody pretty awesome on soon. So keep on keep on it here. The return to the gold standard. Yeah, look, part of me says it's a good idea. Another part of me is
gold bricks. Oh, okay.
Yeah. Returning to the gold standard does have some advantages in that it very much limits the money supply based on the amount of gold that you have available. But at the same token, it doesn't allow for any fluidity and can actually probably lead to a lot more market crashes than it might solve.
Well,
that's the concern.
That's one concern. The other concern is it has the same problem as the current oil standard. And that is that the oil standard is not an absolute metric like we've been told. We were told for years, we're going to run out of oil. The 70s were like, fuck, 60 years ago almost. Jesus.
Yeah, it's certainly starting to feel old, huh?
So back in my day, yeah. So
walking uphill both ways to get to school in the snow.
Yeah. So the thing is, the problem with going back to the gold standard is well, somebody explained it to me a couple of years ago that at the moment, the other issue we have is that right now, silver and gold is currently being mined at a 1-to-1 ratio. So that means that there's probably about as much silver as there might be less silver than gold. Who knows? We need silver as a powerful conductor for computers. We also need gold as a conductor as well. We need these, and that's really why the future of that is also changing, because now we don't use gold and silver to necessarily, oh, here's what I trade for money, but now I need this to actually participate in society. So without it, we don't have what we're doing right here, right now. So it runs the issue of it being based on another made up value that's not solid enough to base a currency on. And that's why, like I said, do we want something tangible? I'm not saying we can't have a tangible representation. There's wisdom in the way we do our finance, because like I said, having the free system of exchange that we do in time trade, it makes sense. It's just the standard cannot be the standard for an American family, in my opinion, should be one income provides for a household being, 2, maybe 3 adults and 2, maybe 3 children or dependents, depending on the situation. There's people that have, disabled family members they're taking care of and elderly grandparents. There's any number of circumstances. The idea is we need to return to the single breadwinner, income as the standard. That's my biggest issue with it.
I hear what you're saying about the gold standard. I'm hearing what you're saying about other commodity standard. I'm going to suggest a standard to you. Are you ready? The gold press latinum standard, my friend.
Yeah.
I think the Ferengi economy is the way to go here.
We're in the Ferengi economy right now.
Well, I mean, you guys might be.
Yeah.
I'm up in Canada. I'm living in a federation world, man.
I'm also living in a federation world, just, with a different little aspect. But no, that's the thing, is I've realized between our Euro friend 13M32 and you and me, and then even some people we've met in South America, there's like pieces of freedom spread throughout the world. Now we just need to bring them all together and then give it to the world.
Petey, I got to stop you here. Ladies and gentlemen, this man has been working inside Hollywood for many years and has learned the secrets of their organizations. And he himself is quite the master of divining the insanity that is the entertainment industry. Ladies and gentlemen, one of my very good friends and a man I totally consider my brother from, another part of the globe. Ladies and gentlemen, the one, the only Kamran Pasha. My brother, how are you today?
I'm well. 2 brothers here today, and my Wiccan brother and my Christian Gnostic brother, and we've got some brothers and sisters in the chat. And so happy Samhain / Halloween, and thank you for having me on tonight.
Yeah, it's as I was saying last night, if it's the United Kingdom English, it's Samhain or Samhain. But I'm totally comfortable if you guys want to use the American English version, pumpkin spice, and just carry on from there.
What I always find fascinating is how it's very fascinating the European culture, despite the best efforts of some religious fanatics to sort of suppress its ancient rituals, that they continue to exist. And it's true in Latin America as well. A lot of pre-Spanish culture and festivals and spiritual practices still exist because people are just not going to give up what they found works for them and gives them meaning.
Well, that's it, right? I mean, I was saying when I was explaining Samhain on the live stream last night with Zax, you can try to take away somebody's religions, but if you don't replace their holidays with something else, they're just going to keep doing the original holidays regardless. Sure.
And as someone who, as an observer of the Catholic Church, they were very sort of practical and effective in recognizing that, best way for us to make this work is that, you have a Mayan goddess. Well, she's a lot like the Virgin Mary. So suddenly, the Virgin of Guadalupe is an interesting intersection point, and away you go, right? And so the tradition of the divine feminine continues in that form.
There we go. So, and Kamran, you actually missed it.
What did I miss?
Earlier in the evening, my first student actually popped into the chat for a few minutes.
Wow. Okay. So, and I believe you've mentioned this person to me in the past. I'm sorry, wasn't there. As you know, I just had to pick up my mom, so I spent the last few hours helping her out here, getting settled back in. So I've got good homemade meals, had a nice dinner with her, and she's resting now. So I've got time to join in, and hopefully we're still going to be able to do some stuff for the holiday. And I've let my Patreon members and social media friends know about this, so hopefully some people will come in and support the charity drive.
That would be wonderful. I actually was waiting for you for one thing in specific. So we're going to bring up the tarot board here.
Great, because you don't want me to talk about the gold standard because I have lots of opinions on that. But okay, I heard all
You
that.
definitely can, but I was waiting for you for one specific thing.
Okay.
Because as anyone who's a member of your Patreon will know, Kamran is absolutely infamous for having the inside scoop on Star Wars.
Well,
And,
one of a few, I think, but I get some interesting stuff from some good sources. So yeah.
Well, I was thinking perhaps we should do a reading for the future of Star Wars for 2025.
I think there'd be a lot of people interested in that. Sure. How are you doing readings? Are you doing rune readings? Or are you doing tarot?
So I've got my tarot right here. I've also got my runes. I figured for these ones, I'm going to definitely do tarot. But if somebody would like a rune reading, of course they can send in a super chat for a donation to the two charities that we're working with, which I think are absolutely fantastic charities, and I'm very proud of them and the work that they've been doing. So let's get this going here. So the future of Star Wars for the new year.
So I guess 2025 we're looking at.
Yeah. So as you can see down here, Cameron, we've got the tarot board presented in Cabal Vision HD, right?
What
all right.
Gold embossed cards, quite lovely.
Yeah. So.
Oh, okay. What's the origin of this deck? Ace of Primordialism. It's a weekend deck.
So this is the White Wolf Publishing, the guys who made the Vampire and Mage games.
Yeah.
When they made the Mage role-playing game, on the cover of every book they released, they put out a tarot card.
Okay.
And somebody eventually went along and collected all the art from it and compiled it into a deck. And that's the deck I have. They only made about 25 of them.
Wow. Okay. So you got something rare because it already looks lovely.
It's some fantastic artwork. Now, this is the Ace of Primordialism or the Ace of Cups, right? So this is talking about, and we're starting with what the piece is, right? This is what this represents Star Wars as it stands, which I would say the Ace of Primordialism primarily represents a solid beginning, right? And a piece where things have started.
Okay.
Now, let's see here. What's stopping it right now? Ooh. Now, whenever I have asked about the fate of Kathleen Kennedy, this card has come up every time. So when I ask what is preventing Star Wars from reaching to its potential, which in this case is a return to the beginning, if you will.
Oh, the primordial origin of George Lucas, yes.
Yeah. This card has always been associated with Kathleen Kennedy for me. So to give some context,
she's an adversary to the fans and an adversary to Lucas's legacy.
Lucas's vision.
That was an adversary.
There we go. Now, in the past, things have definitely been bright and wonderful, right? And
we remember that past. We're fighting for it. Yes.
Yeah. Currently,
what do we got?
We're seeing this is the five of what you would know as the Five of Pentacles, right?
Okay.
Which is a more or less a war with itself, right? An internal struggle, over its own identity and the future. Ooh, this is interesting. So the future is temperance. Now, temperance tends to represent a balance between the push and pull, right? And that seems to be what's coming up here is
well, I mean, that's a necessary thing. So we've been in a disjointed struggle, as we've seen in the previous card, right, for quite some time. And so after a war ends, you must have a period of temperance if you want the war to not start over again. It's interesting because I was just reading today about Colonel Douglas MacArthur and how he handled the reconstruction of Japan and how he intentionally just preserved the emperor and basically made sure that Hirohito would not be charged with any war crimes, because he said that was a middle road, because both American nationalists and Japanese leftists wanted Hirohito punished and maybe even executed, right? And he said, no, I'm going to take the middle road here because we've finished a conflict. Rebuilding is going to require temperance.
That's it. I believe his exact words were, We must, take care to preserve in peace what we won in war.
Yeah, because there would have been no point in you win, you get the emotional victory of we've crushed the emperor, we executed him, and then you would have a mass civil uprising as the Japanese lose the symbol of their nation for the past several thousand years, and then you would, as he said, you would need 1 million people to. That would be another war. You need 1 million American troops or European troops to, bring order to that island, which would never be at peace again. So. That's there's an analogy for Star Wars, which I've been trying to explain to people, is that people, even if let's say Kathleen Kennedy were to announce her retirement tomorrow, let's just say that I personally believe she's going to go when we least expect it. Every time she hears the fandom is expected on this date, she's like, well, I'm not going. I'm not going to announce it. So she'll go when we least expect it, when people stop talking about it. But when eventually she will go, and then there will be people seeking revenge. They're already seeing it in my Patreon. People saying, "Yeah, we got to clean out all of Lucasfilm and we got to destroy the Wookiees." I was like, you know what? You just got to keep moving forward. You got to keep moving forward, because otherwise you're going to be back into another battle, and that's the only thing going to be in the news is Star Wars struck after Kathleen Kennedy's departure. Star Wars is in chaos. You don't want it. You just want peace, and then you can build something new out of that.
And let's be honest, right? We may have a lot of problems with the storytelling of some of the very woke people involved, but we also do need to occasionally breathe a breath of fresh air into the storylines, right? It doesn't necessarily have to go as hard to the paint as they have, but perhaps something they say could lead to inspire somebody else to come up with a really solid idea. It doesn't necessarily mean you throw you push them all off the board.
Yeah. I mean, look. If we think about just the evolution of Star Wars, I would have to go back and look at the news articles. I'm sure somebody somewhere critiqued George Lucas that there's no black people in Star Wars after A New Hope. Well, then Lando shows up in the next movie and becomes this incredibly charismatic character played by an incredibly charismatic actor. And then by the third movie, he's blown up the Death Star, right? And and then we have Mon Mothma, and yes, we already had strong females in Leia and all this, but we see that Mon Mothma is the woman leader of the rebellion, and that just happened as a natural.
Pretty kick-ass too.
Yeah, right? Pretty kick-ass, and character that still exists today we care about, and I personally thought is being very well done in Andor. I thought what they're doing with her and with the actress is very well done in my opinion. But in any event, that's you can't quash ideas. For all of our talking of woke stuff, Star Trek has always been on the edge of doing stuff that makes people uncomfortable, because it's looking at other races and other planets and cultures. Always by the original show, and then even the Next Generation. The idea of trans characters was normal on Star Trek, right?
We had a Next Gen. In Next Generation they introduced the Trill, which is a great analog for a trans person, right? Yeah, and in fact, people around them had to deal with that.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. The symbiont. You now in a female host, you were in a male host. Now what do you do, right? So what does that mean for your relationships?
The difference, the way I see it is the difference isn't it's as you say, Cameron, whether people agree with them or disagree with them, the woke ideology is going to go about as much away as Nazi ideology. Ideas exist. They're not going away. The problem is when it comes to the way that the message is delivered. That's the difference. Star Trek pissed people off because Gene Roddenberry just did things. He didn't go out of his way like, oh yeah, I bet putting a black woman. Yeah,
you had a Russian
so many people off. No,
you had Uhura, a black African woman from and a Russian navigator and all that stuff. And then you had the episode with the people with the white on this side and the black on this side versus
Let that be your last battlefield.
Yeah, and there were dozens of those, and he just did them.
Exactly.
And now I'm making a point.
And that's the problem with season 1 of Discovery and so forth with the current state of Star Trek, is it was quickly as it turned into we're gonna lecture you about everything you're doing wrong from our crazy made up perspectives, and it's like that's not, and then they take that, they do that, and they get called out on it.
And then they double down. I do just want to say, now, please, I hope I get this right, because this has been a long-standing friend that has shown up in the channel here. Hail to you, echoes of the ancients. There we go. So yeah, wonderful.
And she's a big friend. She's a high-level member of the Patreon. She's a gold member of the Patreon. She's a lovely woman. I talk to her every month.
Yeah, and we've got Agent DBK as well in the chat. That is awesome to see you as well. Hail, brother. That's great to see. And Stephanie showed up as well. Oh, man. We're getting everybody coming out now. That is awesome. Thank you, guys. So I am going to just quickly reiterate the plan for this evening.
Sure.
If you would like either a tarot or rune reading, please send in a super chat. All of your super chats are going to be donated to one of two fundraisers this year. We're going to be supporting Child's Play, which puts video game consoles into children's hospitals. This year, they're primarily raising money for video games for the consoles that exist. So, your dollars can lead to hundreds of hours of entertainment for kids that are going through some serious stuff. And the other one we are working with is the Rainbow Railroad. These guys are awesome. They use the money that they get in to help people who are in other countries where being gay is an offense punishable by being killed. They get them to countries that are safe for them. So they're raising money doing that this year. Last year, we helped a wonderful lesbian woman get out of Russia, and we wound up assisting in getting 6 new consoles for kids in hospitals. So that is amazing. And if you guys would like a reading of any kind, simply put your question into a super chat, and I will do it. As these lovely gentlemen with me here today can attest, we've been doing fantastic for it. And Stephanie Janisex, $4.99. Happy Halloween night, Stephanie. That is lovely. I appreciate you. Thank you for offering that. Would you like a reading of any kind? Is there anything we can
put it in
try
the
to
chat.
look into the future for you?
If there's something,
put it in the chat.
Yeah, I'm gonna be doing reading in a moment. But before, as Stephanie is hopefully putting something in the chat, are we finished with the Star Wars reading, or is there anything more to be said in that?
Well, I think that's the big stuff. Is we're looking at a season that is going to be about bringing, for lack of a better term, balance back to the Lucasfilm force. This is probably going to be one of those balancing the old vision with the new, and trying to find a good middle ground that everyone, new fans, old fans, all fans can agree with is going to be a positive place to go.
Yeah, and I think the beginning of that will hopefully be this Skeleton Crew, which the trailer looks really good to me. It has very 80s Goonies vibe, very Spielberg vibe. All right, so I guess she just came by to give donation and she's leaving. So let's have a good night.
Stephanie, thank you so much, and I really appreciate it, and you're wonderful for stopping by.
Great.
So
it's I have a feeling that that Skeleton Crew will put a smile on a lot of people's faces and maybe erase the bad taste of some recent stuff that was put out, perhaps against the will of many people in Lucasfilm. And so, the pivotal thing is, once people just keep getting consistently enjoyable stuff, it becomes harder and harder to hold on to the pain of the past, right? Like you could be holding on to the pain of the Star Wars Christmas special, and then you see The Empire Strikes Back and you forget all about it.
That's it, right? I mean, to me, what this looks a lot like, right? Hold on. Echoes of the Ancients. Happy Halloween. Those are great charities. $20. Echoes, thank you so much. That is wonderful of you to do. If you have a question that you would like a reading on, Echoes, just put it in the chat. I will make sure you get it, because that is very generous and I really appreciate it. But yeah, you know what Skeleton Crew reminds me of? Those Ewoks movies. That at the time they came out, people were like, what is this kid stuff? Right? But at the end of the day, they were there's some people with some very, very fond memories of those movies, right? I mean, whenever I see the Ewoks movies, I think back to the very first time I had a girl over to watch a TV show together. I think we were probably about 8 or 10. And we sat down on the couch together and ate popcorn and watched a movie. So there we go. Right. Well, so to me, it's one of those lovely
it's all about the pleasure. I mean, we don't have to enjoy everything as long as we're letting people enjoy their stuff and they're letting us enjoy our stuff. So, for example, not everyone likes the prequels. I think a lot more people like the prequels now after seeing what came after, but my good friend Abu Nas, who was very, early on passionate YouTuber about what's happening in Star Wars. Abu Nas, said, I remember he said on a very meaningful broadcast he once said on his channel about how he didn't particularly like the prequels. And then he saw the look of delight on his children's face, on his daughter's face, when
And
she
that's
saw.
it.
He didn't like, Jar Jar Binks. He thought he was offended by that. It was a dumb character, but his child loved it. And then suddenly he had affection for Jar Jar Binks, right? Because his child loved it. So we just gotta let people enjoy what they enjoy. As the problem with a lot of the characters in recent days, they're not letting us enjoy what we enjoy, and so that's what temperance is. I think we're moving to a period where you like some of this other stuff, great, it's not for me, but you're letting me do my thing, and I'm letting you do your thing.
That's it. Now, we do have a new request from YU Hayton. Is there Sasquatch up in the up of Michigan? Well, let's take a look, guys.
Yes. It's are you gonna ask? So that's an actual thing you're gonna read.
I'm gonna.
You're gonna read it. I mean, I know that they have been reported. I know they've been reported in the
That's it.
Great Lakes areas. I know that. But let's
Yeah,
see what
I mean,
said.
Yeah, I've heard. So being north, significantly north of Michigan, I would say that I've heard stories of them being in Algonquin Park, which is a big nature preserve just north of me.
Well, I mean,
So-
Canada's their last preserve, right? They have most of the
That's
country to
it.
themselves.
Well, this is it, right? I mean, when you take a look, like Canada looks like this big landmass until you realize that only like the bottom 200 kilometers of it is really where everybody lives. Everything else is just North Country, right?
Sure.
It's like, you get 200 kilometers and then you hit the wall, and then everything there is beyond the wall where the White Walkers live, and we just don't mess with it.
And it's like Australia. Like Australia's a donut. I was talking to an
Yeah.
Australian friend last night. He's just like, everything's around the coast, and the inside is all Aboriginal communities and stuff white people can't deal with. So like, you can have all of it.
Here we go. All right. So when we're talking about Sasquatch, we're starting it off here with the Four of Cups,
Okay.
which tends to represent gifts or offerings from the other side.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm of the opinion that Sasquatch is an interdimensional being. I would call it a djinn, but many native tribes and First Nations tribes think of it as a spirit being. That's what I think it is. So that says something. It's a gift from the other side. Yeah.
Now, what is blocking it from doing whatever it's going to do?
Mhm. What came up?
Okay. Well, it's the Eight of Swords.
Okay. And what does that mean?
Well, typically the thing that it represents is a shackled belief.
Oh. So you
Right?
can't see what you don't believe.
That's it, right? So provided you are in the belief of Sasquatch, right? There's the potential for it to appear. But if you're so ardently that they don't exist, then it wouldn't be there.
Sure. Well, or at least you wouldn't see them. You wouldn't be able. They would choose not to reveal themselves, or even your own consciousness would block them out because you're like, that's
Right.
not possible, so I'm not going to see it.
Now, the Three of Cups, this is in the past.
Mhm.
It tends to represent that they were part of the original cycle. All right, like the part of the original Earth, the primordial Earth.
Yeah, and which is again in the Islamic tradition, the jinn are pre-existent entities before human beings. So yes,
Right.
so they're the interdimensional beings were here before us.
Now, currently, the Gaia card typically represents the spirit of the Earth entirely, like in its universal. So I would argue that if you're seeing Sasquatch, you are seeing the purity of nature, right? That they can only appear in places that are at one with the natural force.
Yeah, so we're not going to see stuff where basically they've got a ski resort going through the mountain, right?
Yeah,
So
like
you-
they're not going to
you-
be walking around downtown Detroit, right?
Yeah.
Like it's. Ooh, now this is interesting. The future of it. So this is what I would take as where you're going to see them next.
Mhm.
And Echo and YU Hayton, what I'm going to say here is very interesting because the Queen of Swords, the Queen of Dynamism, typically represents someone that is pulled in the direction of their dreams primarily. So why you hating? If you're really determined to see a Sasquatch, I would pay very close attention to your dreams and your beliefs in that being seen there soon. So I would argue that they can appear where the belief in them is strong and the nature, the wild, if you will, is strong. So, northern Michigan, there are places up there that are pretty forested. I'm thinking of places around Frankenmouth in that kind of area that are really modeled on the Black Forest kind of area of Germany and Bavaria. So they intentionally keep large swaths of it wild. I would imagine if there's significant enough belief that a Sasquatch can definitely appear there. So there you go.
And with the dreams also, that means try to communicate with them in your dreams. If as I believe that they are interdimensional beings, well, dreams are our personal interdimensional experience, right? Mm-hmm. So reach out to them in your dreams. If you ever have a lucid dream, if you just become aware in your dreams, or even as you're going to sleep and you're thinking, tell yourself, I'd love to have a dream of communicating with a Sasquatch. I'd love to see a Sasquatch in my dream tonight. And one of these nights it will happen, and maybe you'll be able to communicate with them. And maybe that's not a dream. Maybe we're actually in their dimension. And if you see them in their dimension, maybe they'll come appear in your dimension afterwards.
Yeah, I mean, I would guess the best way to put it is, I would also suggest perhaps, if you're really determined, typically Native American spirits happily accept offerings of tobacco. Mm-hmm. So perhaps a small offering of tobacco for them would probably be enticing as well. So as an idea, right?
Yeah, it's definitely an exchange thing. So it's So I think that's a wonderful question. I think Echo's Ancient she has a very interesting question
here.
Yeah.
What is the best way to help my high functioning 25-year-old autistic gay son? That is a fantastic question. Let me see what I can do for you here.
Mm-hmm. Before you start,
go for it.
Thanks, Corione, for having me tonight. It was awesome to be a part of it, but
you gotta
bounce.
You got other things to head on to. Cameron, good to see you again. I'll have an email to you this week to figure out that project that I keep talking about that doesn't materialize. But if you've been
if you email me, maybe I can help catalyze it to materialize.
Well, now that I'm in a stable spot, just recently moved to Key West after a year of hell. We'll make it happen. I'm excited for it. People are excited for it. So, I'm going to go ahead and let you guys have a great rest of the stream. Hope you make way more money tonight. And that would be really cool because, it seems like this charity saves lives. And, I think, I'll just close with saying that. I said it on my own show on the Writer Brothers on the End of the World. And this is how I really feel. And I think it's really something that I think anybody of any faith or belief or ideology can gravitate towards, is that death isn't an acceptable commodity. It's not an acceptable excuse for me anymore. And so
no, it never was. I come from a tradition that bans interest because debt becomes slavery, which is our entire financial system is based on this for the last.
Which we need to get into that on another Rogue Council.
We will, and by the way, we'll have another conversation because I'm the minority in the conversation so far because I do believe the gold standard will come back and will work, but that's a whole other conversation.
That's another great conversation. You guys have a great night. Have a blessed evening and blessed. See if I can say it right. Samhain.
There you go. There you go. Yeah, you got it. Like I said, pumpkin spice is also acceptable. You're American.
Yes. Have a delicious salmon latte and salmon latte. Anyway,
take care, Kitty. We'll talk soon. Peace.
Have a good reading too. Bye.
All right. So here we go. Let's find out what we can do here.
For help, Echo's son.
So, the first card that comes up is Strength. This represents your son. I believe your son is stronger than you know, and has that internal fortitude to hold things together. But what blocks him The seven of the seven of swords is primarily related to the tightrope he feels he has to walk in society, right? He's balancing practically on the knife's edge of being able to handle certain social situations, is how I would guess it, right? Now, in the past, this has really hurt him, okay? The three of swords typically represents a deep pain, right?
Yeah, pretty visceral image there, of the mask, being attacked, right? Yeah.
Stabbed, yeah. Now, currently, though, he has a lot of options to move forward, right? He's going in many, many directions, okay? Now, where he potentially should be going, he needs to find balance, okay? He needs to find an equilibrium in how he lives his life, an order to it. He needs structure. Finding that structure, will lead, there we go, will lead him forward on his path, okay? I think your son, once he builds himself a little bit of an order, a balance point, a way forward, okay, he will definitely be able to go forward with that, okay? Oh, we've got another super chat in here from Squeak a Mouse. Squeak a Mouse, that is wonderful. I was on a live chat, like a live stream with her last night. She's a lovely, lovely lady with the voice of an absolute angel. Kamran, I know you've got a Marilyn Monroe project going.
Yeah, I was about to put in a super chat, but go on that question. Yes.
Yeah, this lady definitely has a voice that only Marilyn could have. So, Squeaka, that is absolutely awesome. Thank you for the $20 donation. Do you have any question you would like divined for this evening? Just go ahead and put it in the chat, and we will do your reading for you here. Yeah. So, Kamran, you were saying?
So yeah, I'm just putting in a thing into the chat. So yeah, but first of all, I think that's a lovely reading that you just gave for Echoes of the Ancient. I think it's very specific and hopefully will be helpful. But it's very hopeful, and it shows that her son is a very strong person who's obviously the product of good parents and will find his way.
That's it. And I honestly, I always hope. My personal belief is that I always hope that when you've got a kid, really the best thing you can do is try to impart in them that which you value the most, and then be there for them for the first little while when they slip up. But eventually, you got to kind of let them figure out their way. And it seems like you've got that wisdom, Echoes, to be able to do that. And I think helping maybe with advice on how to build a structure is the way to go, right? Any message you'd like to impart, I'll leave to the cards. Okay, all right, here we go. We're gonna first do Squeaka's, and then we will, Cameron, we will hit up yours. Okay,
absolutely.
So let's see what the cards want to impart, Squeaka. So, the Page of Pattern. Now, what the Page of Pattern means is the pattern is a focus on the material, on the world, right? On the worldly, financial, material kind of things. So that's kind of where you're starting, Squeaka. Now, this is interesting. What's blocking you is the Chariot. Now, normally the Chariot is associated with the push, the drive, if you will, the pull to move forward. So what's kind of blocking you is that need to continuously charge forward, it seems like. Now, in the past, your drive has led you to profit, right? The Eight of Pentacles is about that you've been building what you need. Right now, though, you're blocked by adversaries, and the way forward from that, just honestly double down on the focus of your own personal power, your own personal wealth. You're building that world for you. Okay, focus in on that, right? Focus in on designing what you want for the future year, and I think that's where it's going to go. All right, now Kamran.
So so you've got my request, but I'm actually going to request if there's a way, if I can be selfish enough to ask for a twofold reading, one with the cards and one with the runes, and I'll leave it up to you to decide which one, because I'm working, as you know, on a short film version of the Marilyn Monroe movie. A copy of that short film is up on my Patreon for anyone who wants to read it, and then I have the feature length film, and I'm trying to make the short film as a prelude to get the financing of the feature film. So
I'm going to pull it. I'm going to pull out the runes for this because,
for both questions, for both feature and short, or how do you want to do it?
We're going to do this for the short first, and then we'll do it for the feature. Okay. Now, for those that don't know the story of my runes, I did a major favor for somebody whose ancestry was a Norse path person. And Kamran, have you ever heard the legends of the Thor tree?
Well, I mean, I know Yggdrasil and I know the Odin's tree. I'm not familiar with Thor's tree.
So Thor's tree was a sapling supposedly directly from Yggdrasil that was laid on Earth. And it actually got destroyed by Christians who shot it. They were so afraid of it.
So this is a historical thing. So there was a tree that was revered by the Norse, the Vikings, as being that.
Yeah, and it was supposedly specifically blessed by Thor. Now, what's interesting is before they killed that tree, it gave 3 saplings, and they hid those saplings in very, in places that they could be sure that they would be able to thrive. One of those saplings dropped a branch, and that's what my rune set is made from.
That's incredible. So you know where these 3 saplings are secretly planted?
I know where one of them is secretly planted.
Okay, is that the one that led to the derivation of your runes?
Well, yeah, that's the one that led to my runes. The other 2 I don't know, and to be perfectly honest, it's better I don't know, because then I can't ever tell anyone.
Yeah, I understand. Right? It makes sense. So the secrets will remain secret that way if it's kept,
that's it.
Inner circle. Yes.
All
right. So that's an amazing story. So these runes, I found your rune readings to be remarkably accurate. That's why I brought them up, and we've done a few in the past.
Well, I've actually talked to a few people, like professional rune readers, and when they actually pull out when I let them near my runes, they talk about feeling like, they're touching a live electrical wire when they touch them. It's incredible.
It makes sense. So they're tapping into a very primordial energy.
Yeah.
Do you know how old the actual runes you have are when they were taken from the fallen branch? Do you have a sense of the timing?
The branch that fell was over 60 years old when it finally fell.
Okay.
But the tree itself was well into its 150th year.
Okay.
Interesting. All right.
We got something going on here. Okay.
So
this is a short film. So what's going on with the short film? Yeah.
This is starting out as the best way I can describe this first part of it here, okay? Is it saying that this project is divinely inspired or spiritually
Well, there's been strange
directly.
Synchronicities every day on it.
Right. So that's a big one, right? Is that they're saying that this is, you don't necessarily write from yourself so much as you are channeling a muse from beyond. Right?
That I've experienced directly. And I know this one in particular, they would wake me up in the middle of 4 a.m. I would get up and be possessed to write scenes.
So this next one here is typically, it's called oxen or cattle, right? Is the translation.
Sure.
And it typically has to do with a position of wealth, okay? But of material wealth. If I had to guess, I would say that this is talking about specifically the producer for the short film version.
Sure. They're attempting to put this together at a cheaper rate than than others would, because they're the person that has the connection that people will do favors for at a high level, that kind of thing, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Now, they have the wealth to be able to pull this off.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What I see is that, so I'm seeing kind of a sense of community here and then crossroads.
Okay.
Okay.
So how do you interpret that? So community, that could be the coming together, because we need probably, you need a crew.
You probably need a big team, right?
Yeah, you need a crew. You need real people who are investing in this, especially if they're not getting paid their normal rate. They have to care enough about it to do it.
So what I would say is you are most likely going to be presented with two wildly different ways to cast this.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, or your team that, like the core group,
Sure.
is going to be presented with some wildly different ways to cast this.
Mm-hmm.
And what decisions you make on casting, if you go forward with the short one, is very much going to determine its success.
Okay. Well, right now we're having a meeting tomorrow with someone who I very much is my number one choice as of now for the role. Her name is Alicia Cooper. Alicia Soper. I'm so sorry, Alicia Soper, and Alicia has become famous for playing Marilyn Monroe. She played Marilyn on all the Ryan Murphy shows like American Horror Story. She is their go-to Marilyn person. Marilyn was a consistent character on those shows, right? She comes in, she's the one that knows the alien story from JFK, all of that. And Alicia has become, and I saw her in a play where she played Marilyn, where she was brilliant. I mean, literally, there's people that are impersonators, like Elvis impersonators. This is not impersonation. This is embodiment. She's mastered this character. And so I met her at Marilyn Monroe Memorial where I spoke, and I sent her my short film script, and she came back and said, I really like this. So we're meeting tomorrow. She's someone that, if I can get her, I think she would knock it out of the park, because there's someone who I think is actually channeling Norma Jean. I think she's channeling her.
Okay. Well, what I would say is you're probably going to get a second person that would work as well, and it's going to be a big decision.
So someone else
would be like a big challenge.
Okay. So someone else would bring something to the table that would force a decision.
Right. Okay. Now, as for the long form.
Yeah.
Okay.
But you don't have a guess as to which one I should go with on that one.
Well, I think that's actually starting to form here.
Okay, so that's okay, good. There's a reason I asked that question at that moment.
Yeah. Oh, that's very interesting.
Okay, something's happened. Okay.
Okay. So what I'm seeing here is if you decide to do the long form of this, okay, there's definitely more money to be made.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, there's really no money in a short film. Its purpose is to as a sales tool for the long form.
Right. But it's going to take a significantly longer amount of time to come together.
Of course, it's it's for billions of dollars.
Years.
Yes. Yeah.
And the short version will have almost no direct correlation in terms of the people involved.
Sure. I mean, it's an evolution. I mean, if you get top A-list Hollywood stars and other people, they're not going to be bringing in your former crew. They're just not. They're going to bring in who the studio wants. That's just reality.
And I really feel like if you do the long form, you're going to get a fair bit of money out of it, but you will not have the creative control that you would want.
I mean, assuming that it's a studio that finances and nobody has creative control, right? Unless you're already famous, right? If I'm able to find a way to finance it through independent financing, then there's some creative control that's possible. But yeah, I mean, but again, we'll see how it plays out.
Yeah. So Pollo Zapatos is saying, did we already do an election reading? If not, please. Yeah. I mean, Pollo Zapatos who's been my bro on the Rogue Council. He was taking his kid out trick-or-treating tonight. That's why he's not here. But you know, for him, I'm willing to do that
Okay.
that look here.
All right. Well, first of all,
Although,
thank you for those readings,
Of
and
course.
you know, and I'll let you know how it progresses. I mean, we'll see what happens.
Absolutely, man. I'm always interested in the projects you do. Listen, you are the kind of writer that writes from the heart and from the spirit, and it's, you know, some people write for the paycheck.
Yeah.
You write for the art of it and the true craft of writing, and that's just special to view.
Well, thank you. Hopefully the paycheck will come. Obviously, nobody wants to be broke. And hopefully I'm
Right.
writing things that are of value to at least the audience. The challenge has always been the decision makers between the filmmaker and the audience usually don't know what they're doing. And so
Right.
and that's the challenge, right? And so, you know, they don't know what the audience wants. And whereas, you know, and so that's the challenge of navigating that.
There we go. All right, here we
All
go.
right. Okay.
So let's see what the election has coming for us here. Now, this is the U.S. election, of course.
Yeah.
Because, you know, while the U.S. election has definitely been heating up and been a fair bit of a back and forth, you know, there's definitely some questions as to how things are going to shake out at the end. As I understand it right now, everybody's saying that it's a too close to call sort of situation.
I don't know if that's true. We'll see. I mean, my feeling is it might be pretty straight, but and that's the standard of wisdom, including Hollywood. It's going to go to the Supreme Court and blah blah blah. Let's see
No,
what
I don't think it's that. I think it's just it's too close to call in terms of you know, whether somebody can accurately predict it based on the electoral math right now.
Sure, absolutely.
Right. All right. Well, let's see what the U.S. is saying today here. So the U.S.'s default here is justice. It's being pulled between yin and yang and making a decision. Seems to track.
It seems to track very well, yeah.
No. It's being blocked by the Nine of Cups, which is, if you will, a tradition of values, right? A return to its original intent of the founders, if you will. Now, in the past, of course, it's definitely been the star of, you know, the rising star of the world. Currently, it's
we've seen this card before.
Yeah, right.
Currently, lots of intense conflict.
Now,
so it's very accurate.
Yeah. Now, this is interesting because
what we got?
for the future,
Here we go.
Strength, right? This is interesting because to me, this is saying, the stronger candidate in terms of messaging, I would argue, is going to win out here.
Okay.
Now
they may not be messaging that. Certainly, one side won't like that messaging, but is it about who is more focused in expressing that point of view?
I think so. I think whichever candidate is the one that has been better about getting the power of their message across to the voters is going to be the winner. Okay. If they've been kind of flippy floppy, if they haven't been firm on positions, that's where they're going to lose.
Well, what's interesting about that as well is strength generally, you know, has this connotation of strength, of stability, of power, right? So that suggests that
like inner will, right?
Yeah, inner will. But what's interesting about that is that that's strong. And so that suggests to me what my instinct is, and I could be proven wrong in a few days. My instinct is this will be a decisive victory for someone. And I don't think it will be the last few elections where it's like, we gotta run, we gotta spend the next few weeks figuring this out, which is what everyone is presuming it's gonna be. And certainly in Hollywood, there's a presumption that we won't know the winner, you know, on Tuesday night. I'm not so sure. I think if strength is the outcome, I think we may have a decisive decision.
Very, very definitive.
And then that will upset the others who didn't vote for that person. But I don't think it's going to be in dispute. I don't think we're going to be going through some of the drama we've been through in the last few cycles.
Yeah, I mean,
we may have people angry and upset about that outcome, but I don't think we're going to go through an extended, I don't know who's in charge.
Right. I think, you know, there's going to be a definitive, yes, this person definitely, like, I'm not necessarily calling it a sweep of the Electoral College, but it's going to be a decisive victory. Yeah, I think you're right on that.
Yeah, and even those of us who are of the the conspiratorial view that the elections are actually controlled by intelligence agencies. Maybe the intelligence agencies have decided, you know what, we need a decisive movement forward for whatever their plan is, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
okay, Shinotaski, $10. Reading on my future film products or projects. Happy Halloween, everyone.
Yeah.
Well,
he's a very talented writer and filmmaker, and
awesome. And thank you
him.
for coming out and donating. It's very appreciated. And let's see what we can find out for you, sir. Here we are. Okay. All right, let's see what we get here. So this is you.
Kind of even looks like him too.
Oh, really?
Kind of vibes like him, yeah.
All right. Well, so the Seven of Pentacles is very much about a kind of an ordered discipline. This is a professional here, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you carry yourself like a professional moving through the industry. Now, what's blocking you is the sun. It's what's blocking you is your own optimism and hope.
Yes.
For lack of a better term.
Which is what I've lectured Shinotsky about, is that he has a lot of idealism of how way things should work in this town. And I keep yelling at him, it don't work that way. It should work that way, but they're not as good as you are. So these are the things you got to deal with. And he has to hear me lecture him. I believe this.
Okay. Now, in the past, so I would suspect in film school or something along those lines, right? You were kind of king of the arena, right? You were in charge. You understood what you needed to do. Okay. Now, the Two of Swords is interesting because on the card you can definitely see, she's holding a lantern in front of her, guiding the way, but she herself is blind. Right? So it's kind of you can see the path forward even if you don't realize that you can. There is a light leading you ahead. Okay? You have perhaps a guide of some sort that you've employed in the past to direct you in some fashion. I wonder who that could be referring to, Cameron.
Well, I mean, hopefully I didn't mislead him. But I know Shinotsky has partners and producing partners and friends, and I've often lectured him. I don't know about this guy. I don't know about this guy. So I'm, part of my mentorship. Hopefully, I've been providing good guidance in that respect.
Ultimately, this is an interesting card to come up.
That's a great card for this. Yeah.
Now, they say that women go through 3 phases of life. Okay, the maiden, the mother, and the crone. Right. The young lady who's kind of naive about the world. The mother who's learned to live in it and is moving reality forward, and then the old wise woman. But they say that men only really have 2, which is the fool and the emperor, the king, if you will, right?
And then the emperor, when he falls in love, becomes a fool again. So yes.
Right. Now, the fool is not a bad thing to be. It speaks to your youthful exuberance for this. And what I would say is, a lot of times the fool is incredibly lucky too.
Yes.
Right.
Well, that's the whole point. That's why he's walking towards a cliff, because there's no fear, because he's going to be okay.
And so I would say that the future of your projects is looking rather bright, but you're going to stumble a lot getting there.
This feels accurate to me, my friend, as I've been lecturing you about this, but I've always told you you're going to make it. I've just lectured you how you're going to get there.
So, I mean, and now keep in mind, guys, I have not met this person. I personally have never spoken to the person. This is somebody who apparently knows Cameron quite well and vice versa. So you got to tell me, guys, if you feel that was in any way accurate.
Well, I'm saying it's accurate. Why don't you put in Shinotsky your opinion in the chat?
Here we go. My career has been nothing but stumbling forwards. That's awesome, man. That's great to hear.
That's fair. I mean, I think this is, look, every reading you've done that I've witnessed has been right on the mark here. And I know this gentleman enough to know this is accurate.
All right. Here we go. And by the way, I figured why the woke doesn't listen to any reason, because their beliefs are luxury status symbols. So the views which belong to the lower classes, they will fall flat and not out. Oh, okay, that's a good, interesting perspective on it.
I
Here
think
we
it's certainly
go.
true in Hollywood. It's the limousine liberal thing. It's a real thing here.
Yeah. So Agent DBK, a longtime friend here, I think the deep state controllers has decided this one is too big to rig, and they'll just have to contain it like they did last time. Yeah, I mean,
That I tend
think-
to share your opinion on that.
yeah, I think you guys have got it. Like, this one is going to be decisive. In fact, I was doing a general reading for what 2025 is going to look like, and I was saying that this is going to be one of those years that's going to make it into the history books as a year when, like, the new path forward for the world in general is going to be decided, right? Like,
Yeah, I think we're
it's going to be,
basically going through the chaos of the Age of Aquarius, but somewhere we've got to figure out how to move through it. Yeah.
that's it. Like, now is the time when we're going to finally get to that point of, we have a direction forward and we're going to start moving in that direction. So, and I think that might be started off by whatever this election is, that it's going to bring a new sense of motion forward for the world.
Yeah.
Good or ill, I can't say, but I can say
good
it's
or
gonna be
ill is,
decisive.
as Palpatine said, it's a point of view, right?
That's it, right?
I mean,
Here we go.
Yeah, if the outcome ends up helping you, great. If the outcome doesn't help you, then I can understand why you'd be upset.
Right. So, yeah, guys. So that was that run through. That was awesome, guys. Those are some amazing.
And on that note, I actually need to start heading out myself. So, I'm glad I was able to support these lovely charities here. I hope people will continue to. You're gonna be running this for a little bit longer.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna do. I think I'm gonna do about another half hour, and then I think. I think I'm gonna call it, because, you guys have been amazing tonight, and honestly, the choices you guys have gone through to make the kind of offerings you guys have has been amazing, and I've really appreciated it. And Kamran, as always, I love having you here, brother. Listen, the next week on the Rogue Council, I'm going to be covering Operation Cone of Power. Which,
I'm familiar with that. What is the Operation Cone of Power?
So, quite literally, this is the story, the mystical story of World War II, where British witches were fighting the Thule Society from Germany.
Sure. Okay. So we're talking Dion Fortune and Crowley together against the Thules. Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Now, here's where things hit a real heavy moment.
Yeah.
On the night of Lammas, right, which is like kind of the second to last harvest of the year, right? Germany was going to invade the UK. And for the first time ever, a hurricane was recorded in the English Channel while the witches in Europe had gotten together and performed a ritual to stop the invasion.
Sure.
And the fallout from that and what happened to everybody, we're going to go through all of that and what led to it and all the magical workings, because there was a lot of shadow war, if you will, going on in World War II.
Well, so I'm going to leave this with you to something. I'm not sure yet whether I can join. I'd love to join if I'm able to, depending on my schedule, because especially if the short film is going to ramp up, I got to start running around with my producer and doing things. But I want to throw a historical analogy to you to think about. Maybe you already have an answer, but it'd be interesting to bring it up next week, whether I'm there or not. So, my friends worked on the never produced season 3 of Marco Polo on Netflix. They were producers on the show. They wrote it, and they wrote it all the way to the end of the season, and it just never got filmed because the show got canceled. And it ends with it's something that I've read about in my own studies of Marco Polo's history, this climactic moment where Kublai Khan invaded Japan. Right? He invaded Japan.
It's the I covered that as well.
There was a massive storm that destroyed the Mongol ships, right? And so was there a Shinto spiritual thing?
There was.
Okay.
And it was called the Divine Wind. And yes, I am going to go into that as well, because there are records from Shinto priests that I've had contact with that confirm they did something almost identical.
So that's gonna be fascinating. If I'm able to join next week, I'd love to, even if it's only for half an hour, even if it just come in for that part of the conversation, because I know obviously I've got some books by Dion Fortune and by Crowley, right? And so I know about what they did there, but that whole aspect of fascinating because my friends wrote this incredible, season, and they told me how it was ending the final season. The final episode was that great storm that destroyed Kublai's ships, and then Marco Polo's on the ship, and the final scene of season 3 was he wakes up on the beach and looks up. He's on the beach of Japan, and there's 10,000 samurai standing there, katanas ready and he's like, I guess I'm screwed. And then
Right. That's a great way to end
I wish
it.
that
Right?
had been filmed. I wish that had been filmed, but it's okay. All right, guys,
Yeah,
everyone still stick here. There's more stuff. Please continue donating and keep asking for. You've seen these are amazing readings. These are amazingly on point readings. He's really got something, if you can see.
Well, thank you. And Kamran, as always, thank you. It's wonderful to have you on, and you are always welcome here. And, anytime we can get together is a joy. So thank you.
It's all good. And it's great to see all my friends, Echoes the Ancient, Shinatsky, and yes, Agent DBK, who used to be a big member of my Patreon. He went off to do other things. I would love for you to come back whenever you feel comfortable, because you are a valued member of the Patreon. So please come on back into our lives whenever you're ready. So God bless everyone, and we'll talk soon.
Right. Take care, brother.
Peace. Bye.
All right. So yeah, guys, that was honestly, Kamran has been a wonderful friend and supporter and just brother to me. And I will always be grateful for everything that he's done for us. So yeah, here we go. Shinosky, Crowley was a wonderful charlatan. My actual favorite story about Crowley is him getting kicked down a flight of stairs by one of the greatest British poets ever to exist. Honestly, that to me has always been one of my favorite pieces. That, he was inducted into an organization that I was actually a part of at one time, and yeah, from the internal records of that society, they freely admit he did know some things, but he was a colossal douchebag before douchebags were a thing. So, I mean, I would say that, he managed to worm his way into secret societies and learn just enough to be annoying. And then they decided to, get rid of him quite appropriately. Shinosky, he basically had a Scientology scheme before Scientology. Absolutely he did. He based it on information that he had learned and decided to put together what little wisdom he had managed to acquire and push other people to it. Crowley's a fascinating character. At some point, I'm going to have to do a really deep dive into him and explain what a nonsense person he was. Here we go. Marco Polo's problem was Marco Polo's Kublai Khan was a stronger character. Yeah, it was. Right. I mean, it was pretty good. Not long after Okinawa was secured, the island was struck by a typhoon. And the Allied fleet was heavily damaged. That is true. Shinto priests are some incredibly skilled, incredibly powerful individuals. The Shinto religion itself is absolutely beautiful, and I have the deepest respect for it. I really consider them, my faith is based on a group in an island that was kind of isolated and figured things out for themselves. And the Shinto seem to have done the similar thing. So I kind of consider them, brothers from another land, if you will. There we go. Here we go. Douchebag, you say that like it's a bad thing. You have reclaimed it, Agent DBK, into something wonderful because you are a great and fantastic human being. Despite your choice of name here. Here we go. The real black arts only $500, but the real black arts are in the $1,000 book, which you had to do the real. Yeah, basically that's it, right? I mean, anybody who's trying to sell you spiritualism or mysticism is not doing it for the right reasons, right? In my own practice, I will never charge a student a dime. And when I'm doing public ritual, the only thing we accept is donations to cover materials that were consumed in the ritual. So, for example, if somebody wanted to donate candles or the materials for incense or things like that, that would be wonderful. But I will never accept a dime for doing the job I do. I believe the closest I've ever come to that is a lovely couple I married recently. They asked what they could do as an honorarium to pay me, and I said, buy me dinner. And which they were incredibly thankful for. But that's how this works, guys. Is when you truly believe in your faith and you truly believe in doing the right thing, you do it, right? So here we go. I like Shinto because it's about living. Don't piss off the kami. I mean, that's just generally good life advice, right? Here we go. What do I think of Helena Blavatsky? Well, you gotta understand the Thule Society and where I'm from, the British traditional craft, are like oil and water or snake and mongoose, right? Like we are absolutely in a position of diametrically opposed positions in how things should go. They believe that their ancient ancestors were more or less perfect and they are capable of channeling that. I believe that the progenitors of the craft learned some knowledge, and the most important thing they did was pass that knowledge down to the next generation to build on. That I am part of a link, like I am but a link in a chain from the original people who started with that wisdom to the people that have grown it, to myself, and then to my students who will hopefully grow it themselves some more, right? I pass on the wisdom that I've learned along with the wisdom that I've been given. And with any luck, my students will do the same thing. And over time, things will grow and build in a natural and balanced way to the point where we can achieve what we need to achieve, right? Here we go. Husky from Pluto, pyramid schemes are bad, MK? Yeah, absolutely they are, right? Here we go. I've been learning from Robert Moss, Dream Shamanism. That's cool. I have an issue with the term shaman. Shaman refers to a very specific practice, in my opinion, from the northern Russia lands, and I feel like a lot of people have been using that as kind of a catch-all term for traditional primal religion magics. So while I disagree with the terminology, I think the teachings are completely valid, right? And that is cool, right? I mean, if my biggest issue with something is I don't like the language they're using to coach their metaphor in, I think that's a pretty acceptable place to be, right? Here we go. No goats without horns. Bonus points if you know what that is. I do indeed. So, yeah, guys. You guys have been doing just dynamite here. Does anyone want to make a recommendation for a general reading, or do they want to know something specific? If you want to know something specific, please super chat it out. That money is going to Child's Play, which is a super important charity. Right now, they're raising money for video games for the consoles that they've already bought for the current generation. And Rainbow Railroad, listen, between a lot of the global unpleasantness that is going on, especially in Russia and the Ukraine and the Middle East, getting people who are, vulnerable simply for loving the people they love out of those dangerous situations and allowing them to continue their life in somewhere different, so that they can keep living, they can keep loving, they can keep being their authentic selves, I think is almost more important than ever. In my opinion, my personal opinion, love is the rarest resource on the planet, and we should be doing everything we can to preserve that resource, regardless of what form that love takes. Here we go. Here we go. Echoes of the Ancients. Yes, he teaches from traditions all over the world. I use the term shaman because it's closer than other terms. Absolutely, right? Like, look, this is kind of me being a nitpicky stickler, old grognard about language, not about the actual tradition. The actual tradition, the actual teachings are completely valid. He's an eclecticist. He's grabbing what works from where he can find it. And that's totally cool. I am very okay with that. I've worked in a couple of different pantheons over the years. I mean, personally, I tend to work with Hellenistic, Celtic, and Norse deities primarily. But I mean, I've gone down to Egypt and worked in the Kemetic side of things. It's a pretty awesome place to go. I've done a few others. Can I do another reading? Echoes of the Ancients. For you, I will do as many readings as you wish. What would you like to know? I will do my best to find it out for you. Yeah, like I said, to me, that's the piece, right? It's, go with what works, go with what makes sense for the event, right? The gods from different pantheons have very different directions that they go, right? So, that's kind of more what I believe is the important part of it, right? It is finding what works for you and moving forward with it. I have met dudes that are firm and hard and good and truly believe in their Christianity and truly believe in doing right by people. And they're some of the most amazing people I've ever met. To give you guys a little bit of a secret, I might be meeting with probably one of the most famous Christians of all time in the next little bit, at least all time on the internet, in a little bit, and doing an interview with him. So stay tuned, because that's coming up in this year. Echoes of the Ancients. Shall I? Absolutely. Here we go. Echoes of the Ancients, $10. Happy face. That is awesome. Echoes, what would you like to know? Any topic I am absolutely good with. I will do what I can to find out for you what you'd like to know. So here we go. Echoes, you've been amazing tonight. Honestly, I know every YouTuber says this, that they have the best chat on YouTube, and I mean, I do, but I also have the chat I am most grateful. Like, you guys don't realize how wonderful you guys are to me. Okay. I do this thing on YouTube for you guys, right? I do it because, when I initially got started on YouTube, I was doing it because I felt that there was a lot of anger on YouTube, and somebody needed to stand up and talk about the positive and talk about the good and the joyful. And in all those times where holding on to that joy, holding on to the good has been challenging, chat, my channel members, the wonderful people I've had on this evening and worked with in YouTube, you guys keep me going. You guys fuel me and remind me that there is good and joy and wonderfulness in the universe. And I just want you guys to know how grateful I am to you guys. All right, Echoes of the Ancients. I'm working on a sci-fi novel with help from Kamran. How successful will it be? All right, let's dig into this. This could be cool. I love me a good sci-fi. I've disastrously tried my hand at writing it. Turns out I'm much better at an urban fiction setting, like an urban fantasy setting. But yeah, man, let's find out how this project is gonna go. Here we go. So, all right. So the Queen of Pattern is about forging your own path forward to wealth, right? It's about creating the world as you want it to be. So I think that tracks for your particular piece here. Now, what's holding you back? All right. This is the Six of Wands. If I were to say what's holding you back, I think I would have to say that it's the difficulty of the journey. That this has been a hard road so far to write this and build it forward for you. That it's the actual act of sitting down and putting fingers to keyboard has been the problem, right? Here we go. Now, in the past, this has driven you a little crazy. If I had to say anything, I would almost say that it was driving you nuts trying to get this down, trying to get your ideas together, that it was jumbled, it was chaotic, and it took work for you to get to a point where you were solid with it. And right now you're kind of in the middle of many paths. The Five of Cups is about having a lot of options in front of you, right? Having a lot of ways forward, almost too many ways forward. Oh, this is cool. The Eight of Wands, okay, is about a person who is on the rise, who is moving forward in their journey and is coming to the end of it soon. And this is about the success of the exaltation that comes from success, the joy of it, right? So what I would say at the end of it is, ultimately, now, the Wheel of Fortune is about kind of the randomness of fate, right? That we can't really know what the future is going to hold. But here's what I would say. Whether it's going to be truly successful is still in flux. But there is a solid chance, at the very least, of one, it is going to complete and it is going to be released. And for lack of better terms, if you play your cards right, if you bet in the right places, if you trust in the system, I think you will succeed, sir. I get a good feeling. Okay? I can't guarantee success. That's still not a guaranteed thing. But I do think that there's a possibility of success definitely for the future. So good luck to you, Echoes. I hope it succeeds well. Agent DBK for 1999 freedom units. Don't need a reading, just kicking in a little for the cause. Agent DBK, thank you once again. This is awesome of you guys. We have really been moving the needle forward and raising a good quality amount of cash. And I appreciate you moving the needle forward and keeping it pushing forward. Echoes of the Ancients, awesome. Thank you so much. Echoes, man. Anytime I can help, right? And listen, if you ever need a beta reader or you want just some advice on things, I am always here for you and I'm always willing to listen. So, I have no problem doing that anytime. Yeah, guys. Oh, this has been great. We've been going for a fair bit of time here. Here we go. And Husky from Pluto, thank you for the energy and time tonight with the readings and hanging out. Honestly, thank you guys. You've been propelling me forward. I couldn't do this without you guys, right? I absolutely couldn't. Without you guys, this doesn't go forward. This is just me talking to a camera. But having you guys here, pushing the conversation forward, helping us do this tonight. And raising money for a fantastic cause. Honestly, it fills me with so much joy and so much hope for the future and going forward. And it's all because of you guys, and I really appreciate it. Echoes, what great readings. I to me, reading, like divining the future, the way I like to do it, and I mean, not every reader does this way. I always look at reading somebody's future like this is, it's like taking a journey with somebody. And if I can use storytelling to explain what I'm seeing, then I feel like I'm doing right by the individual, right? That if I couch this a little bit in mythic language, then people are going to take the reading for what it is, which is a possible glimpse into what could be based on the information currently at hand, and me trying to interpret that based on metaphor. And it's a skill, it takes practice, but I think it's one that anyone can do who's willing to put in the time and work and the energy into being willing to be I hate saying this because it sounds so stupid, but being kind of a conduit for the universe to express itself through. I know that sounds weird and lame and not really what I do, but it's the most accurate way I can explain it. So, guys, I think we're gonna wrap it up here in a few minutes here. I've been going for 3 hours, and to be honest, I am not Overlord DVD. I don't have that level of stamina. He's an absolute beast. He's an Iron Man at this. He is the Iron Man. I am, much closer to the tinfoil man. In that, I just can't do it the way he does it. But there is something I would like to read you guys. If you guys are interested in something, some of the people might have seen this on the, when they were checking out things earlier in the day. I have a bit of a poem that is kind of musical in terms, and I'd kind of like to end out this evening with it. If you guys would like to hear this little bit of a song, here we go. Why You Hatin's already like, yes, please. Yeah, because Why You Hatin, doesn't realize I have a voice for print, but we'll go for it anyway. Here we go. Echoes of the Ancients is also like, yes, and Husky from Pluto's like, sure. So here we go. From the west comes old death, a-riding on the storm, with hungry eyes for funeral fires to burn till the morrow's dawn. For 'tis the night, here comes the dead, unbound from the underworld, and the children dress as babes of hell, all the boys and all the girls, and the fires shall burn, and the wheel of life shall turn, and the dead come back home on the Samhain. And in the night sky, on a lunar light they fly, and the dead come back home on the Samhain. At the Sabbath high on the funeral hill, wait the witches at the feast for the winter's day, the first winter's sun arising in the east. For the dead has come for the summer time, and to take the leaves of spring. Hecate, Nemesis, dark mother, take us in. And the fires shall burn, and the wheel of life shall turn, and the dead come back home on the Samhain. There we go. Agent DBK, tinfoil, ha! You're at least solid aluminum, Crayon. Brother, that, from you, that makes all the difference. Having the consistency of an aluminum bat is awesome, and I'm down with that. I appreciate you, brother, and thank you so much for doing this. Guys, I want to thank you all for all your contributions. Echoes of the Ancients, I really like that. Husky from Pluto, that was lovely. Guys, thank you. Listen, I am sadly not like some of the very amazing writers that I get to hang around with. Doing stories, I managed a couple of short stories, but doing something a little longer form has always been a challenge for me. But writing liturgy, writing ways to honor the seasons and the divine, that tends to be where I shine, provided I can usually do my best work when I've got running a high fever. So there's that part at least. So here we go. At least maybe even brass in places. I can say that, there have been some, I have a fantastic wife who will definitely be willing to check the level of brass in certain areas and provide a report, Agent DBK. At least I hope she does. I will say this, I'll end it on a bit of a joke, because if you're going to make jokes like that, I got to end it in this joke. There are these 4 Christian moms, and they're getting together for tea on a Sunday afternoon. And they like to show off about their kids and brag. And the first one says, my youngest boy just got his holy orders, and he's now a priest. So, when the ladies walk by, they acknowledge him as father. And the next one goes, my son recently got elevated to cardinal. So now when they walk by, it's they say your eminence. And the third one's like, when my son walks by, he's just been promoted to being a bishop, and they call him Holy One. And then the last mom is kind of looking down a little forlorn, and she says, my youngest son is 6'2", has long dark hair, and looks like he works out every day. So he's got a 6-pack abs and massive arms, and he's a witch. And when he walks by, all the ladies go, "Oh my God." So, all right, guys, we've been going for 3 hours. I really appreciate it, but I'm going to shut it down, guys. Thank you so much. And I'm going to end this stream as I do every one of them. Merry meet, merry part, and merry meet again. Thank you guys for your generosity tonight. You guys have been amazing. I appreciate you. Have a wonderful night. Take care, everybody.